this is going to be another episode of Summoning Insight. It is the off season, but unlike other shows, maybe even other shows on the LFN network, not calling anyone out, we keep actually doing shows during the off season. You know, some would say esports never sleeps. And since I am esports, that means I don't sleep. I just keep making straight fire content, doing all sorts of things with it. And so I told you we'd keep doing episodes. By the way, for this show as well, since we cover all the regions, mate, we won't even get through all the roster rumors in this episode. It's like there's like an infinite amount. I mean, if people don't even know, funnily enough, I'll tell you a rare example of where I'm actually going to be complimentary towards Sheep Esports. So stop the fucking presses, call a worldwide press conference. This must be like aliens being announced as being a real fucking by the government or something. Here's the one area I'm actually in favor of Sheep Esports. I have always thought there was an obvious gap in the off-season market for people to just do the leaks from Korea. Like, one of the things I've always found really weird in esports is everyone on Reddit loves leaks, whether they're true or not. But if you ever were following LCK or LPL, you really did have to just go through like tiny accounts that do like translations or just fans, just fans reading things on forums. And the problem with that is like, you still need to have some level of like someone you can confirm with, like, does this sound like it's plausible? Do you know about this thing? Do you know what this person's contract? So it's actually quite good that in theory now we have a tracker for moves in LCK as well. I think the LPL will always be an alien world in that sense. I mean, I saw your video, bro, like that system of like how you like draft and sell a player. Like, all you need to know, guys, is if you just look at the actual like diagram, you'll want to click off the video immediately. It's like, what the fuck is that? It's so complicated, isn't it? It's like a million flow chart. Like, and then if this happens, this thing, like the whole thing's fucked. So anyway, the point is, we're here in the off season, and also I'll tease this now. If later in the year we really do have a week where there's almost nothing, no big drama, fucking Whipple hasn't tweeted, whatever, I think what we might do even is we might do like another one of those historical episodes, because people have pointed out, I think now it was something like 3 years ago, me, Monty, and Dom did that like mega episode where we did like best players of all time or whatever. And as people have pointed out, bro, in 3 years, quite a lot's changed. Like, people have had like a lot of success and wins. So actually, we could potentially even get someone to do like an update to that episode. That could be a banger. I'd be interested to see, you know, what positions get upgraded, etc., who stays from the old guard, etc. Because I will say that is one thing I have noticed. It's not one thing I noticed actually triggers Dom at the moment, which is he can't handle when people don't update like the old narratives. So you know how my main trigger is the Uzi one, where there's like people to this day who are like, Uzi, yeah, probably second best player of all time. And I'm like, that's like a 10-year-old opinion, bro. Like, what? Like, if you haven't even played it like about 3 years or something. Like, but the reason why that's mad to me is because what they're ignoring is all that happened in the meantime from ADC, like Deft and fucking Ruler and all the some pretty Viper. But so similarly, I noticed the one that always triggers Dom the most is Matter, because the problem is they all go, of course, Matter, the support goat. And it's like, that was a great opinion until about, let's say, I don't know, 2019, right? And the reason why it was a great opinion until then is because people didn't have like 10-year careers. The problem is now that, like, essentially, I'll blow everyone's mind for a second. If you actually think about when Matt at the end of his career in KT wasn't as good, and in T1 he was washed already, the actual prime of Matter at this point in time is probably less than Carrier's entire prime career himself. Like, people have just played for so long. So anyway, the point is, we could easily do an episode like that where we sort of take stock of the added years and do some. So I'll tease that. If we don't do it like this offseason, we'll definitely do it at some point in the future. So that will come. Anyway, first things first, Yamato. I think we should start with a light-hearted topic. And the light-hearted topic is this. You technically on this show have never actually given any indication as to what your future is, right? We've just had it that you're a content creator with us here on LFN, you're doing the show, but you're part of the news this time. And this time, the story goes, YamatoCannon will be the coach of Los Ratones, which, by the way, had its own weird drama where they said some other guy had been offered it and then he didn't get, but ignore that for a second. So YamatoCannon will be the coach of Los Ratones, right? That is currently
rumored,
just a rumor.
allegedly.
Yeah. So first things first, what can you say about that? There's the first thing. I'll just ask you open-ended. What can you say about that?
I guess there's not much, you know. It's allegedly a rumor. You're putting me on the spot. I can say, it's like whenever I talk about this, I talk about YamatoCannon in third person.
Yeah, go for it.
Because basically, like, YamatoCannon joining this team, I think it makes sense. He has like a pre-established relationship with all of the players. He has the experience as well. And I think in the context of what this team requires, I do think it makes sense. Because, like, you know, Yamato has history with Rekkles. Like in 2020 off season, they hung out a lot. They also they played on a team together back in season 2. You know, the Swedish connection. Baus is also friendly with, of course, Yamato, which is helpful. And then the connection with Shaves is like Yamato and Shaves. They work together super much. You know, they worked on Fnatic, and Yamato can say, like he has said this publicly many times, that he loved working with Shaves, and Shaves has the connection with Nemesis and Rekkles too, because they worked together in the past. And I think this is like the perfect match. So I do think that Los Ratones need to be ready for a situation where a lot of things will change. You know, it's like the competing in the LEC, they're no longer going to have the burdens of needing to stream because like I think people really underestimate how much it takes off of you to like stream, be entertaining on stream, and at the same time perform in the scrims. It is extremely draining. So the way I view it is like Los Ratones is jumping into cold waters, but at the same time they are pulling off a lot of weights that they had in, let's say, more shallow waters. So it's just a question of how do these guys react to the practice, and considering it's such a short time period, I think it's a perfect home for YamatoCannon.
I really have a ton to say about this one, because one thing I think actually people haven't taken into account with this whole move is Los Ratones, which is, people have to remember this key detail. And I noticed this wasn't actually flexed as much this year, but I find it a bit weird that it never was, which is the whole premise of Los Ratones, as far as I know, is that it really is just like an experiment to begin with, of like, let's get a bunch of famous players and then some people who want to play with them, maybe they're the streamers themselves, and we'll use the fact that we're all streamers and we're aligned with Kedro, the biggest streamer in the West, and we'll use that as essentially like an exposure trickle-down economy, and we'll all collectively make money. By the way, it's a bit like when you used to join TSM back in the day. You know, you're going to get more viewership, you're going to be more. But the thing that people missed to me is this: it isn't an esports org that had like loads of money, was paying people big salaries or anything. In fact, I think people don't realize that's probably the best min-max of any esports org for years now. Like the level of exposure they got relative to what they actually had to put into it. Because even the stories of people got sponsorships, yeah, as far as I know, through the same agency that works with Kedro, like it's part of his brand as well. So one of my issues with this is when you then go and do this LEC thing, people have to remember, first of all, Yamato, it is not the case that actually so far Los Ratones is an LEC team going forwards. People are acting like that. I mean, the joke is even the other orgs are acting like that because they're all worried that once Los Ratones gets their foot in the door, if their viewership spikes, then they think Riot will figure out a way to sort of like something. Oh, what? No, they're in the whole season. A bit like they did with Fearless. You know, they told us last year, Fearless will only be for the first tournament. Don't worry about it. And then after that, they were like, actually, Fearless for everyone. And then they just changed the whole circuit. So right, as of right now, technically Los Ratones will only play that first tournament, whatever the Winter Split Cup thingamajig is called. They'll play that. In a fantasy world where they win it, they'll go to first stand or whatever. Again, whatever, it's possible, I guess. It's possible. And that at that point in time, people have to remember, if it's not known yet what the long-term future of the org is, again, as an outsider, I would just speculate. I doubt they have the same full setup of all the other orgs. I doubt they have a massive budget and a big plan for years. Again, I'd imagine a few pieces could be in movement here, where you're going to have to see how this first split goes to see where anyone is, even who keeps playing and what the coaches have. Whatever. Again, like I say, maybe they have to go back down to EMEA. Maybe it's back into the world of, I don't know if it'd be NLC at this point in time, because in theory they said they're going to leave that, but it might have to be back into an ERL. It might have to be some sort of third-party competition. So I actually think, essentially, that's all to say, Yamato. I think people are actually putting too much scrutiny on this move. Like, they're acting, bro, like you were just announced as like the new coach of G2 or something. Like, this is actually like a project where, again, think about what I just said with the setup of the framing of what Los Ratones is going to be in LEC. I don't actually know that many famous coaches who would come for one split or one cup, or you don't even know what the future is. You don't even know what the future of the team is, if people can be signed for money. Again, no one quite knows yet what box to put Los Ratones in. Are they an LEC team? Are they an ERL team? Is it a streamer team still? Is it just about entertainment? Is it about being the most competitive? So I think at the moment, people are being silly. The obvious question I would ask any hater is this, Yamato. Who do they think was on the short list? What list of names do they think they looked past? They're making it sound like the list of names was like, we have Fabio Capello, Ancelotti, Mourinho, and then fuck all them. We're just going to go with Yamato. Like, I bet you don't even know the other names they were thinking of, guys. So one, I don't mind this move. I think it's fine. Obviously, even taking aside bias, I've always said that even though I had the fan opinion 10 years ago of like, it just seems like he's got a cool voice. Because my problem, here's the problem with this topic. I want to get into this now, Yamato, is this whole thing that's always put onto you as a diss, actually, is they take what should be a compliment, which is you have very good presence and you have a really strong voice, of a great voice. You have the golden voiceover voice, don't you? You have a great. They take what it could be a compliment, and cause 10 years ago, or maybe it's like 8 years ago or something, when you started being a pro coach, the real problem is this, Yamato. It's not the whole thing that they pretend you know nothing about the game. It's cause everyone, if you looked it up, could see you were actually way younger than you actually used to appear on camera, because you used to wear the suits and you have this voice. I think you gave off the vibe you were like 30, but you were like 23 or something at the time. You were actually quite young. So the logic then was we're just too young to be like a mastermind coach. Now, here's what I can't handle about this. That's a narrative from like the fucking Vitality Splyce days, mate. This is like in the 2010s. What's weird is if people haven't seen it, Yamato himself was actually one of the main drama pieces of the news, because in the thread where it's rumored he joins Los Ratones, I'm going to say no exaggeration, like 90% of this thread was just flaming the fuck out of him, exactly along those lines. It was all like, he's just friends with players, he just got a fucking cool, he's just giving cool speeches about being on a mountain, so he doesn't even know how to fucking there was the odd person defending you, but I know they all got downvoted. So look, you can't address whether you're officially joining, because obviously that's up to the team to officially make all that happen. But I just want to know, what do you think of this criticism? Like, were you kind of surprised by it? I feel like in general you're a reasonably popular character. What do you think?
I guess it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to piece it together, right? I do think that it's like how narratives are framed, especially like the Casey thing. It's like, what I read often is that we went 0-9 and I was a part of 2 splits. It's like even something as similar as that.
Oh, they got it wrong. Okay.
Like they're getting it so wrong. It's like we went 2-7, which is not that big of a difference. It's like obviously like the winter split in terms of the result is shameful, but it's like if you look at the context, looking at spring split, the result was like exactly the same, and the gameplay was objectively worse, and they replaced the whole roster. It's like with that context in mind, everything is framed a little bit different. But I think it's just a question of where the let's say the loudest groups of fans. I think that there is definitely like the group of Casey fans. Not all of them. It's like there's definitely Casey fans that are still supportive, but there was a Casey fans that thought I switched up on them when after I was out of the team, where I would just like criticize them for gameplay or like give them critique like I would do with any other team. And I think that there was a group of Casey fans that saw that as like a betrayal. So it's like I'm an enemy. There was this like particular moment at First Stand this year, for example, where like I tweeted out like a picture of like like being 3 levels ahead of Yike and straight up just like 100 CS. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Because like obviously I expected Yike to be way better than Umti. Umti had like one of the worst splits of his career. And that was like, I was like, wow. And then it's like the replies were like all just like flame, very, very rude language. And I think that like I'm going to be myself, and I'm not going to change that. I definitely noticed that where it's like after I was co-streaming with Dom, there was also like a very, very bad reaction. Like, oh, you're co-streaming with Dom. This guy is a bad person. You shouldn't hang out with him. And it's like, what is going on? It's like I'm not going to put myself in a position.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. I've been in that club for a while, mate. Yeah. I've been in the but here's the thing, you're
the chairman, bro. You're the chairman.
Listen, you have to understand, we're the guys they won the stay away from him, he's a bad boy. Like, oh, what do you mean? What's he into exactly?
You're the damn chairman,
that leather jacket, that damn smile.
But I like I'm trying to piece that together, and I do think that's like in terms of where the loudness is. So my interactions as well with the Spanish community. It's like I had a beef with Ibai. I don't even know why. There was this moment, I remember, like I was defending Niski, for example, where like the whole Spanish community like came together, like even casters.
Oh, it's just like 2 years ago, right? Okay.
Yeah, they like came after Niski, and they like attacked him for laughing at him after they got stomped. Yeah. And I stood up for him, and I called out some of the casters because it's like I'm gonna say my opinion. That's just what I do, right?
Dude, I
And
think one of the casters was like saying some shit about his mom or something mentally. They were going fucking harsh, bro. They were going
I think Niski in
all out.
return talked about his mom.
Oh,
Like,
right, whatever. Everyone was going over the line, put it that way.
yeah. Like it was messy, and it's like I'm just gonna state the opinion that I think is correct, and I'm very thoughtful in moments like that when things are, and I'm not going to care about what the majority opinion. I'm not going to cater to a specific fan base because it's a prison that I don't want to be in. It's like a shackle where they're going to drag you along on journeys, and you're going to be forced to say and agree with things that you definitely don't agree. You're going to lose. It's like philosophical suicide almost, you know, like to go against what you believe, to just cater and to, let's say, League of Legends grift, you know. And I think I'm trying, like in my own reflection, I'm trying to remember those moments, and I do think that those things, especially the last 2 years, in terms of how the fandom changed, I do think that that is a big part of how narrative changes, like how important like the recent things are and how they shape their ideas around it. Because always when these like whenever these things came up and I engaged in conversation, because with some of these people that would like say all this shit that I'm a fraud or whatever, they would always like completely just neglect 90% of my career. It's like, and it would be like the conversation.
They just focus on KC or some shit like that, right?
Yeah. Like there was this situation with Koi where I criticized him for the gameplay against, of course, Team Secret Wales. Like those games were far too close, and I said a simple thing: is like if Super plays like this tomorrow, you can just already go home. Like he needs to step up. Only Jojo Pum was playing, and that was my opinion of the game. And I was watching the games, and it's like it's not like I have something personal against them. Like the same thing. Like I praise Koi when I think they deserve it. For example, there was this off-season thing where they did this whole stream about the rationale, and they signed Elioya, Jojo, and Alvaro. They extended, and I think those are the three guys you want to keep. And then they didn't extend Midwin and Supa because they want to put pressure on them, and they understand like the circumstance of how they need to get better. And then they're trying to go, of course, make their coaching staff better. And I was like, oh, this is a great off-season for Koi. Like this is how you want to continue and set yourself up for the future, because those are the three players that I think other organizations should fight for. And that's just like, yeah, I'm saying it. I don't care about Koi. It's like, what? I'm going to not say this because Ibai hates me? Like, that has nothing to do with it. There was this conversation back to the tweet about like me talking about Koi. It's like people criticize me there, and it's like, why are you not supportive of them? They are going to the World Championship for the first time. I was like, yeah, and then it's like, how can you speak on them? You fucking suck. It's like, bro, when I went to the World Championship the first time, it's like, yeah, we took games of Chinese teams. Like when I went to the World Championship with full rookie rosters, I took games of Chinese teams, Korean teams. It's like, you are the one criticizing me here, you know? You're telling me that I can't speak? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it just seems to be narrative driven and also very emotional. And I think also the league space has become very tribal in regards to how, especially like in Western League, where there's a clear divide in the fan bases. It's like when a certain fan base has their own language. It's like you have your own memes, your own standards of how like vitriolic you can be and what you can say and cannot say. And then like the translate button like broke down like these dams that were holding things together. And I think that the clashes of that in terms of where the fan base has gone is definitely focused more on recent narratives, and it becomes very, very, it's like, oh, he attacked our guy. Regardless of what he said, he can't criticize our guy. We get to criticize our guy because that's our guy, but he's on the outside. And that's how I feel often in regards to some parts of the French community, some parts of the Spanish community. But yeah, it's like I understand that it's entertainment and people are going to view it however they want. I think it's crazy. Like they think that I tricked the whole league community for 15 years. I feel like that would be even more impressive than my results if I tricked everyone in the entire like Western League. Like that's what I did. That's crazy. Like that's a whole ass movie. You know, they're gonna make a Netflix documentary about me someday.
No, I mean, I know what you mean, but it would be like some crazy, like you'd have to be like Kaiser Soze of League of Legends to pull this off. And I'll even say this: what they're actually describing, if anything, is something that if I think they were intellectually honest, they would consider would actually be, again, a positive, not a negative. And here's the positive. Bro, if you were really so insane at networking and communication with people that you can get people to hire you constantly for like almost 10 years and you're a complete fraud who knows nothing, then that sounds like you have amazing fucking communication skills, mate. That's a strength of coaching, guys. Like, remember, here's another thing I'm really bored of in League of Legends. I'm so bored of it, Yamato. At this point, the Koreans have had that coaching system. It goes back to StarCraft, bro, where you have a head coach who's actually more of a father figure, an authority figure, and he does things like punish people, discipline people. He's the big boss who makes like macro decisions. But then you have a strategic coach. In fact, I've always made this case. A lot of fans don't know that Koma was the strategic coach, not the head coach of T1. A lot of people think it was just Koma. So one thing we all do in League is we act like there's only one coach. There's no coaching staff. And there's one coach, and everyone does this stupid game where they pretend the job of the coach is to be the smartest guy ever at League of Legends and know more than everyone else. It's just a complete fake discussion, bro. That's never been the case. I mean, I've often told people, one of the people I've actually been friendly with because I thought he was very good at his job was Youngbok. And I can tell you, he's never presented himself as a mastermind, and no one's ever said that. His skill also was things like being a head coach, being like a big presence, holding people accountable, but facilitating tough conversations. It was never about could he go head to head with LS in a 3-hour discussion about what support items you should buy or what should be drafted on ban 2? Remember, in the modern day, you can have a different coach for drafting even. So one thing I'll do very quickly is this. I'll refresh people's memory, Yamato. In fact, you know what? How appropriate this is. Gentlemen, join me at the top of the mountain so that we can see as far as the eye can see and we can survey all that has happened, not just yesterday and tomorrow. And I'll run down Yamato's career because actually it's the opposite. You actually have an underrated coaching career because you have to know the historical context. So first of all, if you go way back in time, your first gig was one of the more controversial ones. It was the one where you did the Roccat one where they still had Jankos and Vander, but they tried making that super team. It was all a fly project, whatever. They put the fucking top laner. The top laner used to be the old mid laner, already scuffed. And then they had Nuke Duck, who at the time wasn't the Nuke Duck we later on know, who was more of like, you know, a great teammate. So he was more of like, you know, I just play the fucking game and it gives a fuck pro. It wasn't that great a roster. Also, that was the Woolite one that you all hate on Woolite. That roster was just whatever. By the way, it wasn't totally terrible. It just wasn't good. It didn't work out like people hoped because of the
I can say just a little detail there is it's like I was in Meet Your Makers and that was the whole drama thing and we were auto relegated. Like that was a disaster. That was my first coaching gig. And I joined Roccat when they were the 9th place team and they were in relegation. So I joined the team in summer and that was when I started. And we almost beat, we went to 5 games with Origin, you know, like it was close for us to be the team to go to the World Championship if we also beat UL after that. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
No. So the point is, I agree, it's the context that people miss. Then after that, you had the Splyce roster. Now, here's what's hilarious. People now, bro, will look back. And the joke is, really modern people will only know Mickey X for that roster. Maybe Kobe, I guess Wonder as well. They'll be Wonder and Mickey X mainly they know. But first of all, that wasn't the Wonder and Mickey X of G2 Super Team. This is like young Wonder and Mickey X Blood just come into the ULCS. And if people don't know, since that's like a rookie roster without established names, that roster already mega overperformed. They were literally, first of all, if you don't know, they were actually the best team against G2 the whole year. Go watch them both the playoffs. One of them, they just ran into them in the round of 6 or whatever. The next one, they met them in the final. These were really close games, the series. Then they went to Worlds. And as you say, at Worlds, you were in the Giga group of death, the one that had Samsung, that were in the finals, and RNG was super dangerous. And you had the TSM super team that people thought, by the way, all 3 of those teams on paper were supposed to go top 4 at Worlds. Obviously, only 2 of them can. And your team beat RNG in one of those games. By the way, did you hear that, guys? So Yamato with Kobe and Sencooks beat RNG with Uzi and Zhao. You guys don't even rate fucking Sencooks and Kobe. So who did it? Then after that, you go to, you obviously had the period later with Vitality. All I'll tell people again is, if you knew who that roster was at the beginning, they just came into the ULCS out of giants. That wasn't some like super team of players. In fact, to this day, no one gives that bot lane any respect whatsoever. The jungle position had to change like 4 times because no one respected the junglers. People maybe liked the fucking solo laners, I'll give you that, right? And that team not only went to Worlds and was competitive like semi-finals of the ULCS, but more importantly, at Worlds, twice. Let me explain a piece of context here, because you guys who are going to be haters, you can't give me context of other people who did this. So at that Worlds, they beat RNG again with Uzi I, which is the year, by the way, where they were on the golden road to win everything, and they were just winning everything. They already won MSI, both LPL. The better one is the Gen.G win, bro. That was the same lineup that was the reigning world champions, by the way, of League of Legends. And even though you're all going to say, like, I agree, they were a bit washed that year, they still qualified for Worlds from fucking LCK. Where, again, go ask people like KT, where the fuck were you, Obi? Nowhere to be seen. This team qualified. You won both the games against them. And actually, it was only a tiebreaker scenario. Stop getting out of that. And by the way, that would have been a miracle to get out of that group stage. You should have no chance to get out of that one. That's when all the teams are fucking dangerous there. Then you go beyond that. You've obviously got the Fnatic period. Now, look, I'll give people a tiny asterisk. The Fnatic one is underwhelming in the sense that when that roster is formed, contextually, it should be able to win the LCS. ULCS. I'll give
especially the second one.
Domestically, I do think that team probably should have had a title. Yeah, coming second and third's good, but again, if people know the context, that roster, that's one of those ones I also wish in Fnatic there was a fucking documentary about, bro, because by the time he gets to the summer on that one, that is like, you're not even coaching them, mate. You put out fires, you fucking triage, you're going to have to chop his leg off. Sorry, the leg's going to go, the gangrene's going to take the whole body. You're just doing fucking crazy shit. And that one at the end, people forget. Not only could have not even qualified to Worlds, but made a turn and started to look good, but then went to Worlds, and that was obviously the Worlds where I think you beat RNG at that one as well, didn't you? Was that the one I'm thinking of? Was it, who was it you beat at that one?
This was basically 2021 was the one which was a complete mess. We beat RNG in one game.
I did it the wrong way around. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. I was doing the 2022 roster. Oh yeah, the 2021 roster was the one where he role swapped Whippo and fucking Adam, rookie. Went to the finals, by the way, which is also forgotten. That was the fact. By the way, YamatoCannon with rookie Adam and role swapped Whippo placed ahead of a G2 super team that was supposed to be so stacked, people said they had ruined Western League of Legends and broken the league before they ever played a game. Placed ahead of them, and also, by the way, ahead of the fucking Rogue team that used to just win like 14 games out of 18 for fun every split and just basically could only lose to G2. So that's already good. I agree. I was doing the 2022 one there. The 2022 one's the one where you went and you lost to...
we beat T1 at T1, but we lost against EDG twice in the group stage.
Yes, well, so almost we EDG one of them. That was pretty good too. And then also, and so basically, if you want to run down quickly, not only has Yamato been in 2 finals with rosters that probably would shock people could make a final domestically, he's also been to Worlds like fucking 4 times. And 2 of those on paper, Vitality and Splyce, you have no business going there, mate. That's when, like, you have Dylan Falco, Schalke in the world. You have some Origin lineups out there and Schalke lineups that are, like, fucking stacked with players. So, listen, I'm not biased, mate. I'm not going to go the other way and say you're the greatest DULCS coach of all time. Obviously, your resume is nowhere near Grabs or Dylan Falco or someone. But I think that's a pretty good fucking track record. But notice how what they did in this scenario, like we just described is, none of that was ever mentioned. They skipped straight to, like, fucking 2024, basically. And that's your entire career is 2024. And nothing else happened before that. Or, like, I think that's, by the way, that's a pretty underrated resume, that, bro. There's not many people who've been to Worlds that many times. Not many people have been in the finals many times. Like, again, like I said before, what shortlist of coaches do they want the people to hire? There aren't that many legendary coaches. There just aren't.
I'm personally proud of what I've done. You know, like I'm proud of my resume. I look back at it like I didn't even
mention you're also one of the only coaches ever that a Korean team was like, just come and coach in the LCK. That's fucking super. By the way, just getting that invite alone is a massive fucking like compliment. That's a mad compliment, bro.
No, I appreciate the thorough rundown, Thorin. I appreciate that a lot. You know, on my side, I am proud of my career, but it is funny that like in the comments, there's 2 things that I mentioned. It's like the KC stint, which I agree is shameful. I wish I had more time because I think I could have done a lot more. Because it is what it is. It's like in winter, we were one of the best early game teams in the league, and that's how like you build over time, in my mind. And then, of course, another one that is funny is the Roddy sack. It's like, you didn't do anything with Perks and Jankos. I was like, what am I supposed to do?
What I would say to people is this, a bit like with KC, I would just say this following question. What did the next people do with these guys? Am I missing something? Like, did Perks and Jankos go and be fucking godlike again elsewhere? Did KC do awesome the next split? How's it all Yamato's fault? Sounds like the players take some of the fault too. Everyone failed, in my opinion, in those scenarios.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's like I'm genuinely very, very proud of what I've done, and I think that there's a mentality around like winning being the defining factor, and I
Sure.
like in my mind, I did think I was saying that very publicly because I really believe that 2022, like in terms of the roster power that
Yes.
we had, like that is the trophy that got away, especially
Yeah,
like summer, like that is the one that I look back on and I have nightmares about that one, you know. But I think the context always matters. Like, what did you manage to achieve? It was the same as like when I joined the LCK team, they were 10th place in spring. I came into summer, and then we were 7th competing for playoffs. And in the context of LCK, was like, I look back at that and I'm proud as all hell. Like, I'm not walking away with some trophy or anything, but what we managed to achieve and the fact that I had to work with a very unique scenario where I have 15 players and 5 coaches, and I have to like orchestrate a whole new dynamic and scenario. Like, I look back at that as something to be proud of. And you know, coming in now to Los Ratones is a very like a unique
Allegedly.
case. Yeah, allegedly. It's like a very unique scenario because it's like everything needs to be insanely rapid. And I think the experience, like the relationship already being established, me also like watching them the entire year, and me also like speaking with Keiru throughout the entire year is also something that is important, because usually it's like relationships that require depth in the context of how you work together. That part of it is something that takes time, and when you only have this dense amount of time to just go in hard and hit the ground running from the get-go, I do think that I fit that profile. So for me, allegedly it's a great honor, and it fits for me well. And as well, I agree with the notion. It's like someone to sign up to coach for a shorter period of time. It's like you can see the question of Odoamne, for example. Like, he's looking for something that is the entire year, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like that's the key difference as well. It's like some people are going to look out to do something the entire year, and I do agree. I do think that this is going to work out good. I think it's going to be fun.
Listen, here's how I know Yamato must have really good rapport and be able to relate to people and communicate really well and find a place of understanding, which are all coaching skills. Because as he just said, he's about to allegedly go and coach a team where Rekkles plays. I just flamed the fuck out of Rekkles this year in a video. It's owned by Cadril. I flamed the fuck out of Cadril in a video this year. And he still does the show with me. So all you need, and by the way, he's still going to keep you on Someone Insight. Don't worry about that point. So all you need to know is he must be good. Now, here's the thing, Yamato. I just gave you an overview of where I watched you work, but now watch me work. Because you know what people are basically claiming about you, Yamato? They're claiming that classic football meme about Guardiola, that you're a bald fraud. But you know what? You aren't a bald fraud. But if you were, you could really use hymns.
Oh man, you know, clean, you know. It's like hymns, you know. Hair loss isn't just about hair; it's about how you feel when you look in the mirror. Hymns helps you take back that confidence with access to simple and personalized care that fits your life. Full disclosure: I'm currently on finasteride, 1 milligram. I take one every second day. Preventative. I still have some hair. I got the Magneto thing going on. I apply a little bit of topical minoxidil too. But what you need and what you are supposed to use in order to make sure that you maintain your hair, because I think, you know, growing up, I always say the same thing. I say this on stream too, but it was like I watched these Nespresso commercials with George Clooney. You know, he's like in some vacation location, drinking a cup of coffee, and then he has like that silver fox gray hair. Like, that's the dream, you know. That's the dream to grow old with hair, you know. So you gotta use Hims because it offers convenient access to a range of prescription hair loss treatments with ingredients that work, including chews, oral medications, serums, and sprays. Doctor trusted ingredients like, of course, finasteride and minoxidil can stop further hair loss and regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. It depends on how, of course, you respond. There's some people that are hyper responders. Some I've seen like they turn into cavemen almost instantly. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. I think the cool part is that you just go online and you don't need to like do these crazy appointments. You just like click in, give all your data and so forth. I think the convenience of that is a really big deal. I feel like more and more of us are just getting more and more accustomed to the lifestyle of just not leaving home. You can order so many things to your place, and this just that added layer of convenience, is super, super important. And no hidden fees, no surprise cost, just real personalized care on your schedule. So with that being said, for simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/LFN. That's hims.com/LFN for your free online visit. That is HIMS.com/ of course, LFN. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Featured products include compounded drug products which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
I have a quick question which goes like this. Do they actually have, I'm just double checking now, do they have like one of those overview pages again of what all the rumors are for all the regions? Do they have one of those?
I think like the best thing was like Sheep Esports had like this mega stream, and they basically just.
So they showed it on stream, but they don't have like a one on their website like that.
Let me see it. I think I can find it. I just have to browse real quick, see more. There was there's so much new stuff. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is this summary page is like, it's pretty solid. It has like some holes in it, especially what's new, with the T1 or whatever, right? But this is like a good chunk, because this was everything that was current up until that point, at least.
Okay, right. Look, here's what we'll do then. Here's how we'll make it fun, Yamato. Let's just take turns. Just pick a rumor or a team, and then we'll go back and forth, and we'll get through them all. What's a good one to you? What's exciting to you immediately?
I thought it was a very, very fun discussion surrounding like the whole G2 thing, because first and foremost, it's like the key detail is that Inspired and Busio approach G2. I think if there's any kind of predictor of success or any like show of success, is when the best players in like your regions that are connected somehow are coming to you, knocking on your door to play. Like that is some base shit, So the G2 have succeeded, of course, in keeping caps and also establishing like their coaching staff and being that environment that the best players want to be a part of. Like I think that's the hallmark of greatness. But then the conversation about Inspired and Busio and G2 declining them, like this was something that I think surprised many. I was reading like how the community reacted and so forth. And my take on this is, first and foremost, I think that a lot of things in the LEC are going to be dictated by current contracts. Like you cannot afford to bench anybody in the current financial climate. Like Vitality was the biggest, I don't know how many players they had to pay their own bench on big salaries because of German labor laws. Like you cannot put your employees in a position where they need to do certain things in your contract to fulfill them, and then you prevent them from fulfilling that. That's something that that salary you can fight for. So just every player out there, you can fight for that. So that's the first part. When G2 made this project, it was with the intention of keeping it together for the next year. And I think the only reason you would ever make changes is if it's like panic mode. And I think that regardless of how, like, I think making quarterfinals is kind of out of not really a part of my equation. I think it's more about the fact that they had a continuous progression and a continuous improvement. And I think this part of it really, really matters. And on top of that, Inspired and Busio are not going to be like cheap players. They're not going to come in and want to have like the lowest salary possible. They are shopping around and understand that they are very, very, important pieces in this offseason for a lot of teams. So they're not going to take like minimum salary to play for the team that they perceive as the best. And that part of the equation is also super important. I think the Skumon Inspired question is very easy in my mind, because I do think that Skumon did better and better. And then in the end, you had the guy beat also FlyQuest, which I think matters, even though I think on paper Inspired, of course, is better. But you also need to keep track of the team dynamics. I think Inspired is the type of player that you build around, while G2's core has remained the same. You have the coaching staff, Caps, BB, and Hans Sama. These are the guys that are like the leading forces within the team. And I don't think Inspired is a plug-and-play player. Like this is the type of player that you build around, and I can imagine that there is a risk of a potential clash. You would surround Caps with the greatest players available, but that's not always a recipe that works. So I understand from G2 side to limit risk and to come into the next year with the exact same roster. I think it makes sense. Busio Labrov maybe is the one that you kind of, weigh a little bit heavier. But in the end, it's like, maybe you've also gotten credit from your players by making a commitment at the World Championship already. And I do think that players repay that type of commitment back. And if you're going to kind of cut, that type of a deal or that kind of, when it's spoken for, when you cut that off at knees, I think that's something that also spreads very fast in terms of how you do business. And then the final detail I would just say is I think G2 is lining themselves up for the 2026 offseason, and that's where they will go hard. Because I speculate if KC don't extend Kalist at any point during this year, I think that G2 is going to make a massive bid for him. Coming from 2026 and bleeding into then 2027, because I think that's the offseason where they're going to try to pick up the pieces that will be the big names for their organization for the future. So eyes on KC if they manage to re-sign, of course, Kalist.
By the way, there's also a third part to that, which you didn't reference because it was just vaguely referenced in that clip. But they also claim that, like, Aiming, the fucking B plus former KT, like he asked also, and they claimed to join because they make Wooloo makes it. The problem is that the way Wooloo says it makes it almost sound like three separate stories. It's just I think most of us assume because Inspired and Busio played together, maybe they also would have wanted to go as a package deal or something. But to me, the way that was presented, this is why I get so bored with Reddit, bro, because people on Reddit really do just read the title and start talking. Like they don't even click fucking links and read the detail. I always say at this point, one of the main skills of being a journalist in esports is just fucking reading, mate. Just find out what the actual facts of the story are. That's like a superpower at this point in time. I don't know why. That used to be the basic level. So anyway, when you have that presented, I assume that's not like the package thing that's Inspired, Busio, and Aiming. There's not even a connection. So I'll do them separately, right? First of all, I totally get the Inspired angle. If I was Inspired and I just had the worlds I had, and generally the year on FlyQuest was like up and down. Yeah, you were winning a lot in NA, but that region just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And by the end, it was a joke. Like, as we saw at the end, the other real teams in your region, like Cloud9, didn't even fucking go to the actual like, regionals at that point. It was just you and fucking Shopify Rebellion and Brazilian teams, etc. So if I'm Inspired, I actually think this is, even though it didn't work out as a potential avenue to go down, there's two angles here. One, I actually really love it from the Inspired side, bro, because it implied that he actually like took stock of what happened after Worlds and was like, wait a minute, the best roster at the moment in the West is G2, and I think I'm better than Skewbon. By the way, totally reasonable judgments in both regards. Since he's only been there a year, maybe I can get in there. Maybe they'll actually just say, you're the best team, I'm the best jungler, why don't we just join together and then we'll be in the semis of Worlds. That's, first of all, I like the Inspired angle of having the confidence to do that. A lot of players, I'll put this out there because maybe people don't know this, despite how much shit a lot of players talk, bro, a lot of people, including players in esports, are really nervous about being rejected or feeling like I'll give you an example. I know a lot of pros, mate, who wouldn't even reach out and make this move just because they'd be scared that someone might meme you about it a year later, you know, like, hey, you asked to join and now you're saying that we're not good. You know, some shit like that. That people's egos get to them like that. Then secondly, another reason why this is actually a very clever move, if his agents are the ones who did it, maybe not even Inspired, is because in an off season, this is a detail I keep seeing people get wrong all over the place because it happens in football too. Bro, every person that my agent, if I'm a player, contacts and says, hey, he's available, would you like to make a bid? That doesn't actually mean I'm going to join your team, even if you say yes. The reason you do that is to have lots of offers so that, one, the word gets out there to all the other teams. Hey, Inspired's talking like 3 or 4 different teams. That means the offers that I do want now can potentially be even higher. They know they have to work harder and bid more and build a bigger project for me. By the way, you could even make a case, in this case, I do think you wanted to join G2, but you could even make a case this is actually how, let's say in the team you would join next, this didn't happen, but you'd wanted to take someone like Busio or Whipple with you. That's also how you could do it. You could go, look, I've got an offer from G2, or I can join your team if you let Busio come with me. You could get some extra angle. So one, it's just good business, by the way, because I saw a lot of people getting that wrong. A lot of people act like in the off season, you contact the team you want to join, they only contact the player they want, and then it's just handshakes, and you just, no, that's not business. Like, in fact, one of the best things about the off season when it's done right is that the good agents do go and check out all the deals. It's why I made the point about the Zeus case in T1, that the second he entered free agency, actually his agent would be fucking up if they didn't contact all the other teams that were available, especially teams like Animal Life that had like big name spots and a lot of money, that they wouldn't be doing their job. Then on the, but here's the real problem. If we actually analyze the player angle, look, if I had the choice, Yamato, and I'm not the GM of G2 and I didn't build this project and make all these promises, so I'm not in that same position. Oh, yeah, I'd be cynical and snap change inspired and put him in and go, let's fucking go for it, boys. 2026 is the year. But I know what you mean. If I am the guy who signed Skumond a year ago, though, I didn't sign him to be the best in 1 year. I actually think, if anything, Yamato, you can make an argument that where he ended up at the end of this year is slightly better than actually would have been reasonable to expect. I would have been willing to accept like 10%, 15% lower level. I think by the end, he looked very good. Like, I think you could make an argument at the end. He was the second best jungler after Inspired. So if I've signed that guy, and he also looks, by the way, like he can be an Inspired, like generational jungler, you don't bail on that guy after 1 year. You do this project as a 2-year project. The bigger question is obviously the Labrov one. That's the one where maybe I would have done a different one. I'm personally not that convinced by Labrov. Maybe I would have taken Busio. But again, I don't know in that case what the rationale was for why. One thing I've never really been able to get a read on, I've tried to look at the interviews, is I can't really tell if G2 like pretend they like Labrov, if they actually think he's really good or they fuck with him. I have a hard time getting a read on that. Actually, it's one of the trickier ones when I've read the interviews to see if I can see anything behind it. The last one, ADC, that doesn't even seem like it was ever on the table, right? I agree with you. If I could get Kalist, maybe I'd kick out Hans Sammer. I'm not kicking out Hans Sammer for fucking aiming, who choked every playoffs and bloody worlds of his entire life.
Thank you.
And not only that's just as a player, and has insane baggage around him with drama. Like, here's my joke for you, Yamato. Aiming, I know things get lost in translation on forums, but you do know Andrew Tate doesn't really run G2. That's pretty good. Listen, that's not bad if you know some of the drama. So all I'm saying is you would never get into this team, you fucking idiot. Listen, Viper could probably get in this team if he DM them. You're aiming, bro. Like, yo, come on, settle down.
Yeah.
Like, you would never get an overhand Sam. Also, let's just say this. Mate, have I missed something? I've never been the biggest Hans Sammer fan. People know that. But his level was pretty fucking good this year. Like, he has one of the best floors of anyone in their team. Like, has he ever been worse than, like, third best ADC? He's been pretty fucking good. And he's generally fairly reliable domestically and internationally. So, again, I'm not kicking him out. I'm with you, though. I think that's the more interesting point is the Kalist one. If you do this as a 2-year project, you're actually in an amazing position if you're G2, in my opinion. Because I think Skumon just gets better and better. I think the rest of the roster looks like it can be just as good next year. If you had to make a prediction, you'd look at the splits and go, look, you can either win or be in the final of every split again. You should go to first, and MSI will all you could probably make a playoff run there. Look, I don't think you've got some all-time team like the G2 super team that can make like a final or something, but I know what you mean. If I get to the point where, let's say Skumon's level goes up 5% next year, and the rest of the team is still the best LEC team, bro, that's where you can get that Kalist deal done, mate. If KC, for all we know, maybe they have a similar split. Maybe they like win the middle split and then don't do as well at international or don't even get to go. If you're Kalist, I know we had this discussion a few episodes back, but all those fans thinking, but he's French and he came from KC. Learn sports, man. That's not how it works. Like, if the player isn't in a good enough position himself, in his opinion, and he doesn't have a good enough roster promised to him, players want to win, bro. They're not really just going to stay forever at the beginning of their careers. And if you're G2, by the way, that's exactly the player. I agree. You should be building right now a plan where whatever happens at the end of next year, that you're the best destination for him to join. Because I can tell you, one of the things actually in Counter-Strike, funnily enough, that has tortured G2 is they had Nico and Monacy at one point in time. A long time ago, they had Kenny S. But one of the worst things in Counter-Strike, I can tell you, and I think this thinking has to happen in League now, is people keep doing this thing where they act like you can either sign the generational talents. By the way, you can almost never do that. And worse, they act like, you know, when we do like lists of players and we go, like, this is the top 3 players, then this is 6, 7, bro, you have to have a cutoff where, say, the first 5, they're like the absolute best players in the whole world. You'd sell everything to get them. Once I get to like maybe 10, maybe I wouldn't do that. Maybe like the difference between 10 and 5 could be enormous, even though it looks like it's only a few names down. Basically, the point I'm making is in Counter-Strike, we all have the opposite philosophy to how people do it now in League, which is we think if you get like Simple or Ziwu or Divide, you never let them go, bro. You build the whole org. The plan with them is for them to be in your org the whole career, and everything you do is based on, because that's the one piece your rival doesn't have unless they have Ziwu or Simple. Like that, they can get like, you know, a player close, but the difference is huge. So in my opinion, if you are G2, in this region, that is the obvious player, since you've already got Caps, you've got Skumond and Inspired's elsewhere. That's the obvious player that everyone should be trying to get. The joke would be, it shows what a bad position Fnatic's in. I don't think they'll even have a chance to do something like that. But no, I'm with you. If you're G2, the main goal should be one day Caps and the rest are going to move on, but we'll have Kalista then, mate, and then we'll have the cracked out team from that position. And that looks like the next player from a carry position that can be a Caps level, generational, 10-year career, all LEC every year, MVP of the league. So yeah, I agree. I'm with you as well. I actually don't mind the fact they stay with the same roster. I think that's fine in light of what the bigger project is. Because one thing I pointed out that Peter Dunn did sort of convince me of is I am more of like a football guy where I would chop and change like really rapidly to try and get results now. But I do appreciate what Peter Dunn told me, that he thinks that if you're a coach or a GM, you should always have a 2-year plan. So it gives people time to like grow. You can actually test whether someone works in their role or not. You can bench them. You can bring them back. You can do all the things that you can do as a coach. Whereas if instead your whole thing is every split has to be number one, you can also, by the way, make a lot of short-term bad decisions that get you in a way worse position. So I don't mind this bigger process. And also it just seems like it's the G2 approach, is that they do like 2-year windows, just who they are.
And also, like, I think if you move on from Skumond for Inspired, it's like I can imagine the conversation if you want to extend Skumond in the middle of the year to like 2028.
Sure.
Like, you are set for such a long time in the jungle position, and there is definitely a world where Skumond can surpass Inspired. I think an additional detail too, in terms of where the market was at, the odds of Inspired coming to Europe was just so non-existent too. So it's not like you're taking anyone away from the competition, because like Casey was not moving on from Yike, Koi is not moving from Elioya, and then beyond that, I think Inspired wouldn't want to join any other team within Europe. Because it seems like no one could compete with the money that Lion had as an organization. So you're not really chipping away from anyone else. And then on top of that, if you let go of Skumond, he is going to a European team 100%. And that would be just an investment that you are just throwing away. Because I imagine as well, Skumond as a signee, I don't think that he's getting paid super much. As a rookie, there was some contention for him for sure, right, with BDS and so forth in that offseason. But I think just keeping Skumond for the future just makes so much sense. And aiming, I just wanted to hammer home. Like, I agree with you. Like, I haven't seen a playoff where a best of 5 this guy has ever played good. Like, he got so much credit for being like a regular split merchant, and he like carried D+ at the worst. But I saw him at Worlds. I saw him at playoffs at that time too. Yeah. And I don't know. I've never seen him do anything outside of outside of a regular split. Like, I saw it also on KT. Like, people laugh at KT. Like, haha, they picked T1. Yeah, because aiming play like ass. Like, this is a part of the problem, fucking aiming.
Yes. And also, the other thing, like you were mentioning about Skumond, is if you let Skumond go, you've basically just given him the best training ever to join LEC. And then he goes and joins a rival and then fucking beats you. And it also even worked out because Inspired, it turns out, isn't even going to the LEC, bro. He's not even going to be in your region. So you've actually just won that move if you're G2. You didn't have to make the hard decision. It's not like Inspired came to KC and now you're in deep shit. Like, no, like, you're actually fine. No, and also, one last thing to say as well is, it does crack me up how, because now all the stories were about how Busio's coming to Europe. Bro, I just spent the last 3 years being brainwashed that like Busio's the greatest NA talent ever and he's American. And then everyone's just putting that Polish flag everywhere and just hitting his surname so hard. Like, well, all right, bro, whatever. Well, we get it. By the way, here's my question to you, Busio. Can you even speak any Polish, bro? Can you? Cześć? Dobry den. Do you not even know what I'm saying right now? Or are you really just American rocking that flag, homie? I wonder about that. I don't know about that. I don't know, mate. I don't know if I believe it. But don't worry, we don't import generally in Europe anyway, so you can be American for all I care. Anyway, let's move on. I'll pick one now, Yamato.
Go for it.
So, the one I want to pick is one that is absolutely perfectly in line with the discussion we had all of this year, and it is Team Vitalities, bro. Because obviously, this is the team where supposedly, we actually even literally said this as an obvious destination. Humanoid supposedly would join this team. Mate, this sounds great for 2 reasons. One, he obviously in the past has worked with some of this coaching staff. And also, by the way, despite all that drama in the past of the year, like, and the person's fired if they don't do this. At the end, everyone was like, Just kidding. Starting now. You're fired next year. Like, for some reason, no one got fired. Even though that sounded mad drama, no one even got fired over it. They were like, actually, you can just stay like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. I actually want a job anyway. So it sounded cool in an interview, though. But apparently that cliffhanger never even happened. They're all just fine. And so he's going to join. Listen, mate, if there's anyone is the fucking humanoid whisperers, surely it's these guys. Because you've worked with them. The problem, I think, with humanoid is this. Haven't you noticed how I'm one of those people who it sounds like flips on him, bro? Because when people tell me he's the absolute best and he's that much below caps, there's no problems. Well, I've heard all these stories from all his fucking teammates, so I'll always be like, I think he's a little bit overrated. But if people do the opposite, like they did this year, of like, oh, because I'm bored of him now, not winning. He's trash and he's not even good and he shouldn't be in any team. And it's like, oh, you've gone way too far the other way now, you idiot. Like, his worst ever, humanoid might have been the 4th best mid laner. That's it, his worst. So obviously, logically, that means you should be in the LEC. You should at least be on like a real team. And I have to say, I wasn't as much surprised that the rumor is that it's Vitality that gets him, because I also thought, Yamato, that it won't just, I never thought he would be on SK Gaming. I thought it'll be a team that's sort of a mid-table team, but with money, who want to gamble that he becomes Mad Lions humanoid. So I have to say, if I looked at teams, I was absolutely thinking of like Vitality's an obvious one. I even think someone like KC should have thought of it. I would have said if you were like
BDS
Team Liquid, yeah, all these squads. I think all these squads could use a player like that. Now, look, the key thing for me, as I've kind of set up there, though, is this isn't a player, mate. You just plug and play. Like, just do you, baby. No, this is a player. You've got to know that your coaching staff has a sense of who this guy is and how we're going to work with him, because it's clear you've got to sort of like facilitate his role within a team or something. What do you think? I think it's a great move for Vite. I think it's a great move for both people, by the way. I'm also, by the way, glad that Humanoid will keep playing. He's a good player.
I think it's a fantastic move. Like, I think it's like I agree with your sentiment wholeheartedly, in the sense that like the criticism towards Humanoid is fair, but also in that context, it's like with those criticisms in place, he was like a top 3 mid laner his entire time. It's like you know, in those eras of Fnatic, like rolling over at the finish line against G2, they still thumped everybody. Like he made fun of everybody outside of Caps, and even in some parts of the game, he made fun of Caps too. I think that Humanoid is a fantastic talent, and I think the main thing here is that I think often in team dynamics, the way communities rate players and how they view players is so they just leaves out all of the context always. And I think in when it comes to Humanoid and Razork, like, even though that dynamic, it's like that Fnatic dynamic, just they held on for it for too long, and that was bad for Fnatic, but it was also bad for those players in terms of what their trajectory would be, their growth would be, and how they would be. Like sticking on the same team for that long is something that is insanely rare, very, very rare, especially when the issues that they had were glaringly obvious. It would be the equivalent of us having the whole drama about Jojopyun in C9, and then they would just stick with Jojopyun for 2 more years, and it'd be like, what are they doing? But we all knew when he would move to the next team and he signed with Koi, we just knew it's like Jojopyun's going to be amazing on the next team. These are things that are solvable, and I think that when you get to reinvent yourself and you get to make the conscious decision about which team you jump into, and you have a little bit more freedom, like in Humanoid's case, I do think that he is choosing to play for this team for all the right reasons. It's not like I'm holding on to Fnatic because I have this big contract. Maybe I don't have, that opportunity in the future, this money, and I'm balancing all of these things. And I think that aspect of it makes me very hopeful for Humanoid. And I think if there's a way for Vitality to make top 3, which I think is going to be insanely hard with how stacked G2, Koi, and KC is, I do think it's far more likely with Humanoid than with Chayek, because Humanoid on a good split can definitely be a mid laner that takes you over the finish line against some of the best. And I agree with notions like him reuniting with Kazi, with Mac as well, presumably based on what we know. Like, I think that part is super, super good. And I think you should be happy. Like a team getting Humanoid and him being in the league is a good thing for the league, 100%.
And it just makes their team so much more dangerous. Like that, the mid lane they had was okay, but if you looked at the rest of the squad, Top's actually a real prospect. And they already had Kazi. There's another detail mate. They've got his boy Kazi. If there's one thing we've learned from all the A/B testing over the years of Humanoid, it's that his best time period really was with Kazi, because they have, first of all, he's one of the only people I've seen in League of Legends. As I say, I've talked to a lot of Humanoid's teammates, mate. He's one of the only people I know as a teammate who seems to genuinely really get along with him and vibe with him on some level. Like Humanoid can, in his own way, can be like a serious person with like a sarcastic sense of humor. Kazi seems to crack him up the right way, mate. Yeah, he knows the button to press, and I actually think that's a positive. I think I can bring like a lightness to their team where it allows them to fuck around and play their good game. And then also the story goes from talking to many of the coaches over the years that when they were in that Mad Lions team, the beauty of it was apparently all three of them. It's the idea that they had like El Yoya, like the brand new rookie jungler, but would clean up the team fights. Humanoid would do like the fucking whatever, like the mid game fucking read or whatever. And then Kazi would make like calls when the group and fight or some shit, or to keep fighting. Supposedly, like collectively, they sort of shared the shot calling. But the problem is, because at the time, Humanoid was the guy in mid lane making the mid game moves, killing everyone. Everyone thought, oh, it's all Humanoid. Whereas now we've seen that like both players separately are really good. So put those two back together. That's an obvious combo to try again. I think if you're Vitality and you're gambling to get back to like a relevant position where you can go to Worlds, I think it's a great move, mate. Like I look at their roster, the one that's basically on paper right now, that can already be a top 4 roster in my opinion. I think that's actually pretty good.
Agreed, yeah. Nako, I think he's just going to keep doing better. And I just think like Humanoid being allowed to take summer off and him just not playing for like approximately 6 months is like good. I think that's a break that every player should deserve to have a chance to do. And I think that most players don't, because of how things work. It's like you need to be on all the time and you need to join the next team because people forget about you. But I do think that's going to do him so much good. I think that Vitality is an interesting team. Like they're keeping going with Linstas, and I hope like this is the year that he's actually going to show something. But it's funny how, you know, we had this conversation in an earlier episode. You referenced, of course, Peter Dunn. It's funny that it's like he goes, Mac goes back to the old homework, you know, of the roster building. Exactly. It's like, yeah. I mean, like my ideas haven't worked out. Like I'm gonna go back and read like the Half-Blood Prince. You know, these are notes of how to cook up a roster.
No, in this scenario, it's like where, put it this way, I'm a big fan of the Dune series by Frank Herbert. And what happened is when Frank Herbert died, his son started writing Dune novels, and he would always claim that like, oh, I had his old notes and stuff, and you were like, when you would read the novel and it wouldn't be that good, you're like, did you really though? This is like, I know what you mean. He went back to like Peter's old roster building notes. Like, I'll just change enough of it that they won't notice. It was like, give me a break. You just recreating it again. All right, pick another one. Pick one then, Yamato. What do you want to pick now?
I guess we can move to Fnatic, because like I want to lay the foundation of this, that I thought that Fnatic would be like completely screwed.
Yeah.
In the sense that they don't have the reputation. They didn't have any players that have any pull, and at the same time, like the money issue. And I think that in terms of how things are shaping up, it does look like it's a grabs product, in the sense that I think it was very good from Fnatic to instantly say, grabs, you have our buy-in, we're going to extend you. We want you to run our League of Legends division, because I think that level of buy-in is super, super good. I can tell from my time when I was in Fnatic, like I was always in limbo. Like what management were telling me was like always back and forth. Like we're going to extend you, not extend you. And like it was always like so much friction, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I didn't know, like it was like the league team, and then upper management was like this distant entity that just looked over us and just put rules and like sanctions on us in theory. So to see that move, I think is a step in the right direction. But I did think it would take them a lot more time to build something that is hopeful. And I think that Vladi is such a key piece for that, because Vladi, similar to the Georgia Pune story, I think that in terms of the highs that he showed, I think it's very clear that he has the capacity to do more. This is a young guy that still needs to, of course, grow. Like seeing those Casey videos of backstage, it's like even though we do only get a snippet and it's edited down, it was very clear that he was not so comfortable in the environment. I felt like the coaches didn't do a good job of like nurturing Vladi and giving him the the feedback and the push that he needs. And now he's joining a coaching staff that is more experienced, and I think walking away from the KC experience, the reflection that occurs in that, I do think it will also be very healthy for a player like Vladi. And the fact that he stepped in and allegedly he made the choice. He said, I want to play with Razork specifically. And that's the choice they made because by extension, it seemed from what we know from the outside that Upset and Razork were two players that weren't going to play each other coming into next year. So the big like new detail here, right, is that we had, of course, Upset going from an MVP split, and now there's a big chance that he's not going to play for an actual LEC team. Like that is crazy in itself. But Upset is one of those players that the community like loves to hate on. I don't know if you saw the like LoL Esports.
I saw that.
Like,
yeah.
You saw that was just brutal. That is like completely vicious. That is so
people don't
fucked
know.
up.
It wasn't even just like this. Like, at least it'd make more sense if it was a Reddit thread that was like, Upset not going to be in a team. No. It was a post by LoLEsports, the main Twitter account in League of Legends Esports, just saying what were your favorite players. It's supposed to be like a celebration thread. And I'm not even exaggerating. Almost every comment is just flame.
Yeah.
Like, some of them, I won't even say who, but there was even one person was so horrible. They just quote tweeted that like thing saying he wouldn't attend because of his fucking family situation. That world's like, bro, how? By the way, here's one thing I'll never get. You all ask me about this with Rekkles, but as I've shown you, there's actually reasons behind the scenes. What reason do you all have to hate Upset the Human? I'll never get it. I like, you know what's funny? Even though it's exaggerated, I'd at least get if someone was like, look, I just don't like defensive or conservative ADCs. No, you guys actually hate Upset the Human. Like, for some weird reason, you would think Upset had said all the shit Bwipo had said, bro. People really hate this guy. And they did the same thing with him they did with you, Yamato. Notice his career wasn't like he was the MVP this year. He was in like he was one of the top players. And no, it was just like, yeah, but what about all those 10th places? Like, that's years ago now. What are we talking about? That wasn't even this year. But that's his whole career now. It's just 10th places. That's it, apparently.
It's rough. It's very, very rough. You know, and so I think it's like, connecting now to the whole Fnatic idea, there was like talks about them wanting to sell Razork and so forth, but it didn't go through. But they're also talking about, I believe, like Empiros is going to be replacing Oscarina on top lane, who's like a rookie coming through. And then they're looking at, I believe, KCB's bot lane, which is Exakick and Piero. So it just seems like they are building something for the future. You know, I feel like this is the type of year where you're like, selectively building something that will make sense into next year. It's like, oh, you have maybe a piece or two here that's going to be really good, and then you build around them. Like, I think that's something that you should be hopeful about. But I think everybody needs to understand, and I feel like everyone's on the same page. Fnatic is no longer a top dog. They are not a top organization. They are not at the top anymore. They need to figure this shit out. Like, they are a mid-tier organization by every standard. The history of this organization was something like the credit that they built has been squandered and dropped. And now they need to work from here. But considering that position, I think this offseason they have done a good job considering where they are at, because they have some interesting players at least.
Yes. And also, like, I'll just put this out there. If you think, obviously the problem with the Fnatic one is there's a million moves and most of them aren't even confirmed. So for this one, this episode could obviously age very poorly, really quickly. We don't know. But I'll just run through a few of them. Right, the Oscarina one's totally fine because that is obviously a player that was having problems in Fnatic. He looked to me like Fnatic's slightly too good a team for him. I think he should be more in like a BDS type team, you know, that sort of a level down. That just seems more like an appropriate. He can still be an LEC player, by the way. I also won't say he's like shit and shouldn't be in the league, but he's someone who's had his problems in playoffs and at Worlds, etc. So I think it's fair that you remove him from Fnatic. But obviously the problem with every single role in Fnatic is who will we get instead though? And that's why suddenly nearly everyone can stay, but everyone can go too. So in this scenario, if you look at who they were talking about elsewhere, right, it's mad that they were actually thinking of Bwipo, but I sort of get it. As much as people might think like Bwipo's a PR nightmare, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but he does also bring all that hype and all the... Every time he doesn't fuck up in interviews, he gives you great fucking sound bites too that keep people interested, keep people engaged with the team. Also, he is actually pretty good himself at selling people on the dream that like the team's better than they are, they're going to win and smash everyone, and he has all the macro wizardry. So I wouldn't have hated that. Like, if you'd said to me, would you upgrade Oscar into Bwipo? I'd probably take that deal. I don't hate it.
100%, yeah.
I think that's a fine one.
Probably very cheap now too, yeah. Like
I have to imagine he has to be. I'm assuming he was probably quite humbled by what happened at the end of FlyQuest, etc. Yeah, I doubt he has a bazillion offers. Also, he just has history with Fnatic, doesn't he? It's all. By the way, that's another free PR win. Anytime you bring back a player that did big things in your team, remember the second you bring him back, you get all the nostalgia of season 8 and run to the Worlds, and then all the years that he was there after that, etc. And one of the best top laners. So, but. Top lane put to one side. The big deal for me is obviously this like jungle ADC scenario, because at the moment that's still undetermined. In fact, they even imply it still could end up being Razork and Upset. Now, I will say, you know what, even though I'm a big Upset fan, like I think it's insane the idea that if he doesn't get in this team, he's not in the LEC. That is absurd. This guy was the real MVP of the whole league. He should definitely be in like half the teams in the league. But you know what? If you have to have one of Razork or Upset, I'm fine with that being a deal. Look, I would pick Upset of the two. But the reason why I don't hate it is it feels like the same scenario we just talked about with fucking Humanoid and Razork. They clearly, I would imagine it's not just one way, boys. I think both of them don't like playing with each other. I think both of them don't like the other person's style. By the way, they even probably have the opposite fucking temperaments if you think about them as people. Like, I could easily see those two just being like, I just don't want to be in a team with him. So if so, pick one. If you've picked Razork for whatever reason, it looks like the Razork one's more like you just can't get a place to send him elsewhere. Like, again, he's another guy that has a good contract. Apparently, it's only like GX and Heretics he could have joined. It looks like he was trying to join the Spanish teams, you notice. It didn't happen for whatever reasons. It's a shame because, by the way, if he was going to go anywhere, I think something like doing one of those moves would be pretty spicy. Look, I do think Shio was better than him, but I also think Razork can be better than Shio. I wouldn't hate that if you went to a Spanish team like Heretics and they rebuild and that's their new star. If he stays, the obvious angle I have is what you then would do with the bot lane. Because, by the way, the Vladdy one, I think, is a slam dunk. That's like a mini humanoid version. Yes, he had problems at the end. Yes, he might be tricky to deal with, but you're a fucking bunch of adults and you supposedly are supposed to be one of the best esports teams in the world. You're supposed to take players like that on that are problems and then fix them and get all the upsides. So I actually think the Vladdy signing, if you can do it, it's a slam dunk. The obvious question is this bot lane one. By the way, I've got a quick humorous detail here. I'm going from memory, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. Peter Dunn even had a hilarious tweet about the 3XA, which is he said something like, because I'm retired and I don't follow all the regions, I was even talking to someone and I was like, wow, this 3XA guy plays a bit like Exakick when he was on the rise. And they were like, that is Exakick. So the reason it's hilarious is it's like Exakick actually smartly realized, well, I completely fucked up that first chance in the LEC, didn't I? And I really ruined my rep. I should rebrand. And he's just rebranded his name. And now some people aren't aware, even though it's still Exa, really. That's just Exa Cake. Like, but by the way, I've always said, Yamato, I think he is someone who actually was abandoned way too quickly by the LEC. I think that is a player who had some real talent when he came in with SK initially. Yes, maybe at the end he fell off, and certainly there was some really bad roster moves in that team. That guy had talent, bro. I was actually shocked he never got another shot elsewhere. I think he probably should be back in the end. So you know what? If you're not going to take Upset, I don't hate that. I think he's a pretty skilled player. We'd have to see how it would work out with the bot lane. Not bad. And the only problem is, I agree with you, though. The one downside is, no matter what variant of Fnatic you put together from all these moves, notice at the end, it doesn't end up being the best roster in the LEC. Those days have gone, Yamato. I'm with you. They've just gone, unfortunately. And notice how, when I was describing earlier, getting the generational player and then having them and keeping them a bit, the closest they have to a generational player is Razork or Upset. And unfortunately, they both have extra baggage and flaws that don't make them the slam dunk player like the caps you just build around. So that's why Fnatic's in a tough spot now. They don't have the most money. They're definitely not the most appealing destination. And they don't have like a caps. They don't have someone everyone has to play with. Like, you notice Inspired wasn't like, and could I join Fnatic? There's the difference right there. He was asking to join T2 and they haven't even got a vacancy in the fucking window. He was just knocking on the hotels like, you got any rooms for me? And they were like, fucking Jesus, like, nah, there's a stable around there. Leon Stables on the fucking corner. Anyway.
What the fuck? Yeah, you need to add that part of the analogy, Thorin.
It's funny.
The chairman, it's back at it again, man. Fucking Lance Armstrong.
Listen, my whole career is saying the quiet part out loud that you're supposed to just leave like implied, you know.
Oh, no.
Anyway, if I did want to do really great commerce, obviously Fnatic's not doing the best business right now. They don't really even they haven't got their setup right. Their whole reputation on the internet's not as widespread anymore. They don't seem like they can make the deals. They haven't got that trusted, verified. You know what they need, Yamato? Shopify.
They definitely need Shopify. they have Fnatic gear. They have jerseys and shit. Like they probably need to optimize, you know, to get some more Skrilla, you know. Shopify, you know, like we like there was a time like I ran my own podcast for the longest time. And I made no money. I made absolutely no money. I don't know how to monetize that shit. I don't know how to do anything.
What were you
I was just the YouTube.
Like t-shirts and stuff.
No, it's like I wasn't selling anything. That's the whole issue. It's
right,
like it didn't even sell advertisement space,
right.
And I didn't have any logos. I didn't have any like scripts or any setup. Nothing. Like I had absolutely nothing. And it's like now with LFN, like everything is so much easier because it's like, whoa, we have like, oh, the ad spaces are done, everything is done, boom. We know everything that we're doing, you know. We have logos, we have like brand deals and all that jazz. It's like, bro, when you're starting out, you're sitting there confused, you don't know where to start. Shopify has got you covered because obviously they come in with like your pre-built team. It's like everything that we do, of course, happens in the PCs, but it's like if somehow I would be able to create an actual like augmented reality of what you get when you get into Shopify. You have an accountant in the corner just tapping away. You can just work 24/7, boom, boom, boom. All your paperwork is done. You have your team over there that does the design. It's like you have any things that you want to change? You want to change the color? You want to move it around? Easy. They work there 24/7. It's just all built in. Marketing as well. You have a marketing department. They don't need to have, you don't need to pay them food. You don't need to have, you know, water coolers. You don't have to have these awkward water cooler conversations. No, they just make sure that you are on top of all the searches in the keywords, no problem. All of that built in. It's like you just open up Shopify, you do the $1 per month trial with our, of course, code, and then suddenly you just have a virtual office filled with people that are just there to hook you up. And at this point, Shopify is massive. So it's the e-commerce platform behind millions and millions of businesses around the world. It is 10% of all e-commerce in the US, which is absolutely crazy, considering how much people spend money in the US. You know, it's like, you know, they are spending money, they are buying things. There's also even like household names, not only like small businesses, also big businesses. So you can scale to the point where like you have $1 billion business if it comes down to it, you know. Mattel and Gymshark, to just, you know, as examples, as big brands that are involved with Shopify. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for, of course, Shopify. So turn your big business idea into money and, of course, freedom with Shopify on your site. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/summoning. Go to shopify.com/summoning. Just go make money. Money is freedom. And I think freedom is life. So thank you, Shopify, for, of course, backing us. And the cool thing is, like, I have built like multiple ideas, and you can do this trial on multiple shops. Like, there's no problem. They have no issue with it. You want to build a different store? You have 10 store ideas. You can use the same trial with the same account, no problem. Like, no issue at all. Just get yourself involved with Shopify, and got you covered. Like, what's the risk? What's the risk? Like, stop working your dead end job, 7 to 5, that just pisses you off, and you're working with a boss that sucks. Invest a little bit of your time in the day to, you know, explore that idea that you talked about with your homie at the bar the other day. We're like, oh, I wish I did this. Yeah, go do it. You can. It's easy. It's easy. You can just start with the Shopify trial. There's nothing holding you back. It's completely freaking risk-free.
All right, I'm going to pick Team Heretics now. Because as I alluded to before, they actually could have had a way spicier off-season. Like, the rumor was they were one of the teams that was going to get Razork, people thought, which would obviously be an enormous get for them. Like, that's a player where up until this year, they would never get a player like that. Like, people have even forgotten that. This is why actually League has become like football, mates. It's not even about who you are. It's about what you did last season. That's all people care about now. And so now people are even pretending like Razork sucked the whole time. It's like, bro, he just had like, what, 3 years in a row where he was just cracked out of his mind. The whole discussion before used to be who was the best jungler, Razork or Inspired, and that was like a real conversation that was like fucking spicy. It was a fun one. It wasn't like an obvious one and you're an idiot if you say it's Inspired. Like, no, it was a really back and forth. It's only this year he had his issues, and even then I will remind people, because he's like a very talented player, even then his issues were like, has a bad playoff series. He'd still have some regular seasons, especially early in the year where he was cooking, bro. Like, he looked fucking mega in the first split. So, like, here's the thing. While on the one hand, if you're a Heretics fan, it might seem like a bomber that we didn't get him because 1, he's Spanish, and then 2, he's very good. Bro, you could actually argue Shio this year was better than Razork, though. Like, Shio's actually, I think this year has been one of the greatest redemption years I've ever seen. Like, I'll tell, like, if you go back to the past years, as I say, people always did see it as like, right, Shio's like the fucking Robin to Nuke's Batman in BDS. It's like, bro, if anything now, like, he looks fucking mega. Like, he actually looks like just a really world-class jungler. So keeping him, I don't even think it's a bad thing. And then if you go and look, they've upgraded top lane where they've tried to take like their academy player. That's fine. And then the last move, I saw loads of people flaming this too. Bro, have people's memories so short they think Ice sucks? Like, that guy's fucking sick, bro. I think how he played for the first part of this year on, I think, a fairly whack BDS roster, I think he's fucking sick, mate. So I even love that move because, look, I get that it's a bomber to kick a Spanish player again in Flackhead. That wasn't the right team for Flackhead. Flackhead needs to be on a team where he can do what he's the best at, which is be the weak side ADC who plays certain picks and presumably is like a great, team play and fucking personality and what would you say, like not a negative presence with baggage and stuff like. But on this team, they needed to carry badly, bro, badly. And so if you bring in Ice, like I've already seen it on BDS, mate, this guy just carries games. Like, put him in position, and he's just a very good player. So listen, there's still other moves they could have done. I still would have liked something more aggressive in the mid lane, etc. But I don't hate. Like, I do think these moves on paper are upgrades. Man, I think it should be a better Rex.
I like it a lot. I feel like they retained, the key pieces of the previous year. I think the stand did a good job, and keeping Shio, I think, is fantastic. And Seren and Trayson, they are two of the most hyped prospects out of the RLs. And I like the fact that Team Heretics, are bringing someone up from academy. It shows again that the academy systems just work. Like that, like every team that has utilized their academy appropriately has gotten value out of it. It's like you look at BDS, that roster, considering Skewmond was a part of that roster. You think back to, of course, Team Heretics now with Trayson. You think about Casey as well, and how we're talking about how their KCB, a lot of their players are going to move up, like Mainter to, of course, Navi, and we're talking about Piero and Exakick. Exakick was also someone the Team Heretics considered. It's like there is very, very clear value there, and I'm happy to see it. I think Team Heretics are doing exactly what we described Fnatic, the process that they need to do. Fnatic is a couple of steps ahead because they have Razork and Vladi as two key pieces, but Team Heretics is this is the type of year where maybe Seren has a blowout year, he just blows up completely, or Trayson pops off completely, and then suddenly you have players that can become the face of your team. And I do agree, the Ice signing is really, really good because they were lacking firepower. That was the main thing. I think the difficulty for Flackhead is it's very clear that he offers a lot of leadership in the game, a lot of flexibility, and he's very good at laying down a red carpet for different players. And I think that I just feel like Flackhead ended up playing the wrong role. Flackhead should. I hope that he rerolls to support, because I think that he could reroll to support, and I think that he could become absolutely amazing at it. I think he just has a skill set for it. And if he doesn't have a spot here as an ADC of course, in the LEC, which looks like to be the case, then I hope that he really, really considers that option to maybe steps back into the RLs and he proves himself in the super position. And I can see a player like this, especially where you have a mechanical level on ADC that is okay, that level in the super position can be insane. The swapping role into support pipeline is something that hasn't been pushed for hard enough. I remember I had this conversation with Perks back in 22, leading into 23, and then 24. I told Perks he should have swapped to support. I think if he did that right there, and he would be playing with Upset, I think that the Vitality journey that they were on together would have been very, very different, because they were also really suffering in the super position, if people remember, with the whole Kaiser situation. So I think that the pipeline is switching to support. I think that this is something that should be explored more, because in the end, it's look, Keria used to be a mid laner, Busio used to be a mid laner. There's a trend, there's definitely a trend to it. So I think I hope that Flackhead considers this. But I like the Team Heretics moves, super cool. I think they have a good foundation, and it's very clear that they are taking their own spin on things. So this is in terms of where LEC has landed this year, I feel like you have 10 teams that are ambitiously trying to climb the ladder, you know, which I think is so important. Like no team that has just built the roster to be like, whatever. And I think that's a good sign for the region.
Right. Some of the other ones, there aren't that many more that really lots of moves. So we'll maybe just run down these ones, some of them quicker, then we'll go some other regions, right? One that's interesting to me is this, Yamato. I actually think the MKoi one is very interesting, though. As far as I can tell, mainly their offseason was just fending off people trying to take Jojo Pion from them and take them in a fly quest and all that chat. So essentially, they've just kept the same roster. But the interesting thing is, it's implied that what they've basically done, and I think it's quite interesting that there's even leaked out to the public. So if you notice, by the way, everything in the French and Spanish scenes leaks out to the fans almost immediately, and nothing stays behind closed doors. It almost seems like that's the way they run it, as a way to like unofficially, it's almost like the club just telling you what they're doing, but they just send it through their streamers and their minions, and it gets out there, right? The story goes, and if this is true, Yamato, I kind of fuck with this. Now, what they did is they went to the two weakest players on the team, which they view at the current point in time to be Merwin top lane and Super at ADC, and they've just told them basically, look, you got another year, but get your shit together. Like, if you get your shit together, you're fine, you stay, we're all the same roster, we're all friends, we all like each other, we can all build on what we've done before. But essentially what we're telling you, a bit like what Vitality in theory told to Macabad, is like, we're not just going to do this for another year, that you've got to raise your level, you've got to accomplish more. I kind of like, if that's true, I kind of fuck with that, Yamato. Like, look, part of me also does think you could make like, look, again, if we're in a world where Upset's not going to play him, you could bring him in tomorrow, he's better than Super, you could bring in there's top lanes that are very good. But at the same time, I understand within your org, first of all, you are heavily playing up the Spanish angle, and you're playing up the angle of, like, to me, the whole point of the identity of MKoi is you're trying to be that team where it's not pure player strength. It's like the chemistry together of how we work together. So I don't hate this move, actually. I know they could have been more aggressive, but I don't mind them keeping the same roster. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I liked the rationale. You know, I believe it was like Ibai did a stream that was like translated, and they just put everything out in the open about the rationale. And I did think that the 3 players that they extended are the 3 players that other organizations should pursue. And like, it's the same, like if Mirwin and Super went into an off season now, I don't know if they would have a slot in the LEC. Like that could be like Mirwin maybe could find himself on a team like maybe Fnatic due to the circumstances or something, but like I don't think Super would find a different team. And I think the other three, like everyone would aggressively pursue. Like I think Jojo Pune, Elioya, and Alvaro, these are guys that are really good, like super important pieces. And I think that Koi made the right choices. Like the rumored move of bringing in Alfari as an assistant coach is a very interesting one, because we've seen the impact that he's had as a assistant coach in the context of being a positional coach for top lane. It will be interesting to see him in a dynamic where he is going to, of course, let that bleed into other aspects of things. And there's many directions that we can speculate into. I didn't like the take where it's like, oh, but Alfari only knows how to lane top lane and never converted into the wins. It's like, bro, that has nothing to do with anything about his knowledge or even like what he's been doing with himself over the last couple of years. It's like, for all we know, he's been studying the game, he's been watching the game, and at the same time, he was interacting with like the G2 coaching staff. So I'm pretty sure that Alfari is a person that can be like very, very effective based on just the player into coaching idea is something that I don't think happens overnight, but this is something that has been brewing for such a long time. And I'm sure that in this moment, he's made himself as ready as possible because he gave himself that grace to get ready for the project. So I do think that Alfari signing is super interesting. I was hoping for the Mythy angle. We were early with that one. It was funny. It's like we talked about it on the show, and then suddenly, like a week later, that became a rumor. So it's like it was a real thing that was potentially considered, but now we know that Mythy joined Inspired in Lion, of course. So for me, I think that MKoi keeping the roster together makes sense. Like if there was a world where Casey didn't sign Kana before he went into the off season, that's a player that you pursue and chase no matter what, because like that's just in a moment where you can make a clear upgrade and take something big away from Casey. But if there's no clear like player like that, then I think keeping the same and preparing yourself for 2026 is the right way to do so.
And to me, I've never been unfair with MKoi. I've always looked at MKoi as they have a couple of really good players and then some players that I actually don't think are that insane, but they work well in their team. And that is like an underrated aspect is there are individual players I think are much better than some of these players, but I don't know if they'd be as good on MKoi. Like one of the things about MKoi is I think they actually are a team that generally overperforms. Like they can, aside from Worlds, they actually usually play a little bit better than I even expect and get wins off people I don't think they would or play better. Look, they obviously have that fatal flaw still of like they should have their own like rogue time type number, mate. There's a certain number they hit on the clock that they just can't win the game after that. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter how far ahead they are. But I'll tell you what, they definitely there is like whatever Melza has coached into this team does have some kind of like an intuitive genius for how to skirmish, an early fight, etc. Like they've been very good at that. And then also on the Alfari thing, notice again, Yamato, how they've managed to turn what would even be a positive into a negative. Oh yeah, this bloody positional top lane coach. All he is like a fucking genius at every laning matchup, including playing from behind. Like, yeah, well, fuck me, I wouldn't want him to coach my top lane. What are you talking about? That sounds fucking sick. And then, let's just add in a minor detail. He did only help Chexnote's Broken Blade get better at top lane. That was already one of the best top laners. Like, I don't see what the downside to that move is. That just sounds like a slam dunk. In fact, if you even said Theorycraft, a bit like we already did with the whole if Mithy joined, what he could do to Alvaro. Same thing, if you had to get someone to help Merwin level his game up, surely it's the same story. Alfari would be the dude. This guy actually, like I'm saying, he wasn't just good. He was a fucking wizard at laning, mate. Like I said, he used to actually for real take the bad side of the matchup and then be up like 10 CS. Like it didn't even make sense. It's why he's another player that, here's why I'm not as surprised actually, Yamato, as you're saying, of the idea he could become a coach. Because bro, this reminds me of Nuke Duck becoming a coach. These players have a bad rep with fans because they never win. But then if you ever talk to players, bro, every player I know that played with Alfari thinks he's fucking cracked, mate. Every player who played with Nuke Duck thought he was mega at the game. Like, these people have, like, respect instantly of the players. And as you're saying, they have, like, actual deep game knowledge. Yes, they have their flaws, as many people do. One thing I'm really bored of, the best example of this is the fake Chovy thing, even though there's times I'd agree Chovy choked, we've got to stop this thing where there's only two guys in the world, the champion and everyone else is a bomb. Like, no, they're just like that far off, or they had an underperformance in that one tournament. So, no, I agree. That sounds like a great pickup. And also, notice again, we're not just making it Melza has to do everything. We're building out the coaching stuff. We're bringing in people who can maybe have strengths he doesn't have. Because actually, this team, I'll tell you another thing about the MKoi move. It's actually quite a clever min-max. You haven't had to spend big or pay buyouts. You've still got a squad, by the way, that can be top 3 and can be a world's team, etc. Sure, I wouldn't have you as the favourite. Like, I'll be surprised if you win a split now with this roster without doing aggressive moves. But also, you'll know in this next year whether you were right or not. If your team's still cooking and you're making finals and you go to MSI and Worlds, then you were right and you didn't even have to spend any money when all your rivals cashed out, paying big box, inspired type money coming in and out, buyouts. And if at the end of next year, or maybe if the implication with hinting at those players is halfway through the year, you can still make a move and do the one move you need. Because the good thing about this roster is, I don't think this is a roster, bro. Like we're saying here, you never pick this completely apart and start over. You take like 1 or 2 people out and you slot the person in who brings what you need, and then you can just upgrade the roster. So I also think it's fine, the position you're in, to sort of hold for next year and then make a decision a la G2 at the end of next year. I think you could also be in an amazing position for 2027 if you do it right this season.
Yep. No, agreed. I guess. Well, you want to cover some LCS business?
Let's do it.
We can cover some LCS business. Like we know now, like Team Liquid. I was speculating for so long that they're gonna figure out the River situation, but it seems like River is not gonna be playing unless he's suddenly joining like Shopify Rebellions or something. But Team Liquid now are getting apparently Morgan from Bro.
That sounds like a meme, but it's real. So, I know that sounds like a meme because if people don't know, Morgan literally was the player we all used to be like, it's impossible for Chovy to win. This guy's a fucking bomb. He was one of them. He was one of the dreaded names on that fucking Animal Life team, mate. Like, and he's actually joining fucking Team Liquid. Holy shit balls.
It's crazy. It's like I think he's gonna do good regionally. I think he's gonna do good regionally. Like he's just a classic Korean top laner. It's like he wants to play Renekton, he wants to play Nar and a little tank.
He is also way better than the Chovy days of back then as well. People are doing the Porby thing to him, but they act like he has to be whoever he was like 4 years ago. He did get better.
For sure, yeah. And it's like they're filling out with Jose Diodo, who's basically the Levi of Latam. Like he's
Can I say something? Even though people flamed him, I always thought he was pretty skilled when he played in LCS that first time on Fly. It actually looked like he had potential.
Yeah. I agree. I haven't been paying super much attention about what he's done in this year or the last year, so people can maybe give some more input on that. But I'll just make it clear that that's where I'm at. And then I think the Quid signing is also, of course, really good, and the Team Liquid bot lane was always like a very, very strong part of course, the roster. So the Team Liquid roster looks cool. And then like the APA one is also interesting from C9, because like, it was very sad that they couldn't continue with Loki, because I do think that he was like the most interesting prospect of C9 last year in terms of how he was growing and becoming better. And I think that you could go so far to argue that he was like the best mid laner in the league. Quid had very, very high highs, but his floor was also like very low at times. So that inconsistency, like in terms of where you rate it, is entirely up to you. But APA, I think this is a guy that regionally, I think with where Team Liquid landed, I think the criticism towards APA are so easy to make. I think usually that's how the players that like in the community, when the mistakes you're making are recognizable by, of course, like the average viewer, I think those players get judged so much more harshly on their body of work. It's the same with like Doran. Like he can play fantastic the majority of time, but the mistakes he does just look so damn stupid that they're relatable to even the worst eyes. So I think in the concept of APA, it's like he's been now on this Team Liquid roster, and he played in a certain like system in a certain way for a long time. But I do think that in terms of him being a facilitator for Blabber, I think that's a kind of an interesting prospect, because I do think that APA as a grinder, like he's currently rank 1 in North America. And even though people might not like North American solo queue, which I get, I do think it kind of shows that you have the work ethic. And I'm always intrigued to see players that have been working hard and have found very high peaks, to just see them in different environments. Because I do want to remind people that when Team Liquid were the most dominant throughout, like when they were competing at MSI, beat Fnatic, DWC, and so forth, and then bleeding into summer, like that summer split was very powerful all the way up into the finals against Fly. This was a player that had very, very, very high highs. And I always like seeing those type of players in different circumstances. The same way we mentioned Humanoid, the same way we mentioned Vladi. I am intrigued to see him working now with, of course, Dom and like just different players, because he's been in the same team for so damn long, and like picking them out of that and placing them somewhere else gives them a chance to spread their wings just a little bit differently.
Yeah, on the Team Liquid one, here's the thing, I'm with you. The big bomber is, if you could have done all these moves, but then you just got River as well, I'd be really hyped. Like, that actually would bang, in my opinion. But I don't even hear, like I said, when I saw the Josie Odo flare, yes, it was a few years ago, but he had hands. This guy actually, like, had some fucking talent, I'm telling you. Like I say about Morgan, his problem is, one, he's been on Bro, that's a mean team, and he's also got like the ultra porby rep of like he just held someone back before or whatever. But that was he did get better the last few years. I saw him in LCK. He was one of the better players on their team. And then also, I actually do think that I think the Quid signing's a banger, mate. I do think that guy has a lot of talent. And here's the part that excites me. Now I'm going to get to see what he's like on a team where Core JJ can pilot him around the fucking game, mate. Like, that bot lane was already really good. If you're going to tell me the whole bot side of the map is, like, really strong, and in fact, if you add in Jaws in the other bit, like, raw hands on this team's going to be pretty good. Like, they're going to have some actual skill expression. So, and you'll notice they've essentially gone, people are missing this angle. Obviously, the joke is Jose Diodo should pretend he speaks Korean, because they're making the Korean roster again, bro. They can all speak Korean except him. He just fucking... See, yes, like whatever. So I don't hate these moves, actually. I think in general, I think people underestimate how hard a spot Team Liquid is in. Think about the following. You not only were losing your jungler, who was a key part of the team in theory, because he was supposed to fit the squad. Your top player was there forever, Like, that was just a play you relied upon every season. You're never getting a top laner like that. You're already getting a different style of top laner. And then you were going to have to, I'm sorry, I think you had to change mid anyway. I don't even hate on APA. People saw I did an interview with him recently. I do think he's actually he's even maybe mildly underrated. So, but I think you needed a more skilled mid laner was the problem. Like, I always thought in their team, the problem you had was, even though you had that MVP split, Impact was never really going to gap like the Shy at Worlds or something. APA wasn't going to beat fucking Chovy and Knight. So you were just left with Yon and Core JJ versus the world, and that's too much. So in my opinion, you might have even done a mild upgrade at jungle. Top lane, I don't know about that one. We'll see, but it's not a bad gamble. Bear in mind where you're at. Mid lane, I think, is actually an upgrade. So I actually think Team Liquid's in a good spot. I think they could be the #1 team. And on the Cloud9 one, if you're in Cloud9, assuming it really was like it's claimed, like Loki's choice to step away, you didn't choose to kick him out the team or anything. Again, people have to be really realistic now. This is not all those years ago. Notice how the names that we're now having say they'll come to the West Yamato are Morgan, fucking aiming. It's not anymore like BDD or Chovy. Like, if you put enough millions in, I might pop up. It's not those players anymore, bro. That's not even on the table. Like, you don't even hear the story of like a fucking the Calyx or someone will come over. Like, they're just going to stay in their regions forever now. So in light of that, and you can't get the top Europeans, I don't hate these moves. I think you've done a decent job GM in Team Liquid. And for Cloud9, I also don't mind this one because I already thought they had a pretty good roster anyway. Like, APA is mildly underrated in this one sense. He reminds me of Zeka when people used to hate on Zeka for the first 2 years. You know, they always used to say all Zeka could do is play 2 champions. It's not actually true. If you ever went to any of the series he won with the Akali and the Silas, he would in every single series have like one Azir game that was decent. He'd have like an occasional other, like, I don't know, maybe play a Zoe or something. I can't remember off the top of my head what the other picks were, but he'd have like the odd other pick that was not bad, you know, they could make work. It's the same with APA. Look, the reason APA was overrated is, yes, he did literally have that like period of time 2 years ago where the meta just was all of his fucking solo queue picks. It was mental. Like, he simultaneously not only had he had obviously the Ziggs, which you could play mid, obviously. He had what the fuck's the other one?
The Nico. Aurelion Sol?
No, Aurelion Sol was the one that came into the meta, and then obviously Talia then became meta too. And then, as you're saying, you could then even add in Nico was a pick, like, what, he wasn't bad on either. Like, bro, like, true, the meta was slapping him in his face, but he was good when that meta existed. He also had the odd picks before. Like, I've seen him play a Syndra game at Worlds that was good. I've seen him play the odd Orianna game that wasn't a total travesty. Like, this guy isn't a total bomb. And again, if we're talking about like NA talents, this is one of the better NA talents you've had come through. He also seems quite frankly, Yamato, I really wondered, because this guy was trash talking right off the gate. If you failed, you'll fail 10 times harder if you trash talk. That's what I've always said about people like Whippo. I don't think he failed that hard, mate. He's actually had a pretty good career all in all. And I'll even add this in. That's even one angle as Corpium, because I do think he's worse than Loki, that I actually like for Cloud9, is, bro, Cloud9 right now lacks personality. Like, Sven just has to hard carry all the interviews at this point in time. Because you'll notice, I think Blabber finally realized, like, I'm just going to get trashed if I fucking keep talking cocky and don't do anything at World. So I'm just going to let my game speak for myself. APA is going to handle it all for you boys. He's going to do that Jojo Pion, I will clap faker type shit. And the difference is, yeah, he's not actually as good as those players, but you want to have some. The problem with Cloud9 is they've always had the worry that you become too boring as an org. You know, you're just players that are good at the game. And that's your identity. You want to have a bit of personality in there too. Like, if you're a Cloud9 fan, I think you will fuck with APA. I think you'll enjoy having him as your mid laner. He's a fun guy to, and also if you are someone who's like a one trick on a couple of the champions, it's even better if you trash talk, because it's more hilarious if you then get that pick. Because you know, one thing I've always thought's underrated, Yamato, if the other players in the other teams really believe you only play like 2 champions, sometimes if you trash talk them, they, like, I saw this happen with Adam for like 2 years, bro. They let you pick that champion so they can ego proof that you're not even that good on it. And then that's inevitably, by the way, where you like pentakill them or like fucking donk on them in lane. And like, that happens to AP. I've seen people do that, mate, where they think, like, this guy isn't even good, I'll show you. Instead of doing what you should do, which is just cynically ban out with all this shit and not let him play anything. So I don't even hate that. Look, it is, I do think it's a mild downgrade, but I don't hate the move. I think it's not bad.
Yeah. I think everything is just like the big ribbon on this whole C9 thing is, of course, the Dom coaching. It's like he's dropping so much. He's gonna make less money. He's taking a big risk with the whole stream, because it's like, if the C9 thing doesn't go good, it can hurt his numbers and to not stream and so forth. Like, it's taking a big risk, and I think even that on the side, like, people are gonna tune in to watch C9 to either watch Dom succeed or to hope to see him fail. And I think that's so much spice too. I think Dom is one of the smartest minds for the game. I think that he also, like, I think a very powerful thing about Dom that like people don't mention or people don't know because Dom maybe doesn't talk about it, but like he comes from us, like he grew up playing sports, you know, like he's so in tune with sports in the sense that he knows what traditional coaching is, you know, like when I talk about traditional coaching, is like beyond what people think. It's like, oh, ward here and pick this champ. Like that's how people view League of Legends coaching. Sure. You know, it's like do this strategic move and win, and it's like the way you communicate and how you deal with people in the room. I do think that Dom can be a very, very impactful figure, and I think this is something that it seemed like this C9 roster just really lacked, because looking back at their year last year with, of course, Loki, is that this was the least resilient team I've seen. Like they were
Bro,
so.
I'm not exaggerating. This team absolutely had FlyQuest like banged on the ropes in those series, bro. And every time they let them get away, it was nuts. It was nuts.
And then, like, we heard, like, the stories of MSI in terms of how they scrimmed all those teams. They did good against AL and all these guys. And then they went to EWC, jet lag into Media Day, and they just fell apart. They fell apart. And it seemed like they never recovered from that. And I do think that the main thing is, like, Dom was asked by the players to coach, which I think is, like, the best. That is, like, the best place to be in. And Dom is looking to do, of course, his redemption here, and I think he can pull it off. I really, really think he can pull it off. I think he can give them that resilience and strength and that direction that they were lacking. Because talent-wise, it's like even a player like Sven. Like I was watching the C9, subreddits. Everyone's talking about Sven, that he's like old and washed, but it's like that series that went to 5 games against FlyQuest. I literally think, even though they lost, I think Sven was the best performing player in that series. Which is crazy to say in a series where Inspire was playing, Whip was playing, Loki, Thanatos, these guys. It's like Sven was smurfing. And I think that in the right pocket, this is a play that can be really insane. And I think that they showed very high highs. And I think it's just a question of how to capture that, really, really capture that. And I think Dom being in the room and being there full time is going to revamp these guys. Obviously, I'm biased. I love Dom. It's like I'm biased, but I'm coming also from a position with way more information, and I wouldn't put words on the line for fucking nothing, because I do think this is the best move C9 could do to actually get value out of this roster. Because if Dom wouldn't come over, I don't know who would be the right person, because Dom's advantage is he's been there already for 1 year working remotely, and then coming there into person will change the dynamic completely. Because if it wasn't for Dom, I don't know how you would solve it, just because then I would have the same concerns. It's like, yo, you on paper downgraded, and also you're carrying the luggage from the past. I don't think that this is something that you can execute easy on, but I think Dom can pull it off.
Oh, here's the thing. I actually have the opposite bias, Yamato. Because I'm an owner of LFN, I shouldn't want him to do this move. Because unlike you, he's not staying doing all the shows, is he? Apparently he's like leaving Power Spike or whatever the fuck. So if that's true, I should tell all the opposite. He should stay doing shows and not be a coach. I should go, come on, bro. You're going to run out of Piglet stories within 3 months. And then also, just saying over and over again in VOD review, what are we saying, actually isn't mediating conversation. But no, anyway, that wasn't bad. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Listen, and then going to guys like, listen, I came third one time. Look, it wasn't a split where it qualified in Worlds, but third. Look, this bronze medal. Anyway, whatever. The point is that was the only time Dom was ever bronze. No, but more importantly, I actually do think people also hate on Dom in a way that I'll never understand. Here's what I will never understand, Yamato, right? When I talk about players, even if I sound disrespectful, have you ever noticed I always do it in a very specific contextual framing, which is one of the following 2 things. Either one, I've actually heard from behind the scenes something about this person that means that they've got problems this way, or 2, I ask like a question essentially, like, well, why haven't they succeeded in this way or done this thing here when like this other teammate did? Or also, it's more like I ask a question, which I'll never, ever, you'll never catch me on record ever saying this. I will never say anything on record like I know more about mid lane in League of Legends than Nemesis or something like that. You'll never find me say that on record ever. But what I don't get is, that is how fans critique people like you and Dom. They'll be like, what the fuck did he ever do in his career? It's like, bro, then that invalidates your opinion as a fan. Like, you never did anything. Guess who you coached? No one, ever. Guess where you placed in LEC? Nowhere. You would never even get the gig. What did you do at Worlds? Absolutely nothing. You will never for 1 second be relevant in this game. But magically, your opinion's just the truth and incredibly insightful and must be heard by the world. Like, oh, what even is it? And by the way, I can even fall back on something that pleb can't. I'm doing this as fucking entertainment. Spoiler, I wouldn't be doing the 4-hour call-in with Yamato, just giving him my opinions if we didn't have a show. And also, he wouldn't accept the call, would he? Like, whatever. It'd be like that joke of like, Busio has asked to join G2. G2 has declined since they don't want Busio. Like, it's not like that, is it? Like, the point is we're doing it for entertainment value. You're just shit posting on Reddit because you're a fucking idiot. Anyway, didn't get to me there or whatever. But anyway, the key thing as well is this. Much like Yamato, Dom also has another underrated aspect. He himself is experienced. He has a whole fucking picture book in his mind of memories in esports. And he has aura, he has presence. The players want him in the room. A bit like you'll want an aura frame in your room because it brings with you all of your memories and all the great things and all the highs and lows and things you've done. Picture of Piglet smiling, picture of fucking Impact, whatever, picture of you going to season 2 Worlds. Just so you can go, see, Spanish community. I was at Worlds. I was there one time. And then going, yeah, you never fucking won anything. No. One time I did get to this tournament here a long time ago. And also, did I even tell you that story about the time Diamond Prox fisted me in the jungle with Edward? That happened too. You can also have a picture of that. I am Hanover. He can have the image of himself bald so he can remember to never doubt Faker. Even though, by the way, the worst one is he didn't even doubt Faker. He actually had them as like number 2 team of the world, for fuck's sake. He didn't even hate on them. You just at this point tell him he hated on them. Maybe you, in your aura frame, should put Dom's actual opinions and tweets, or just support your family. You could just enjoy your own life, couldn't you? You could relive all the family traditions by seeing all the pictures. You can get unlimited photos and video. Just download the app, connect via Wi-Fi. You can preload photos before it ships. Then you can just add them or after that. So that means, by the way, if you want to set up for your grandma or your mom, you can just do it all if they're not super tech savvy. As long as they have Wi-Fi, it'll be set up. You can also remotely, by the way, add photos to the account that then update. So I always tell people, this is actually how Monty discovered this company. The best angle is to do it for like your girlfriend, your mom, or your auntie or grandma or something. And then the idea is you just put your latest photos in and they get updated on what you're doing in your life. And it's kind of a cool way to show that you care, but also to have them feel like they're part of your life. And also it comes with a gift box. Every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. So, oh yeah, by the way, so if you're cheap, you can just go, see, I got a savings on this, but you don't need to know that's top quality gear here, grandma. Now take it. That could be, you don't even know about tech. You're from the fucking Steam engineers. You probably think this costs fucking gems and rubies and fucking doubloons or something like Pirates of the Caribbean wealth. No, because you don't need Pirates of the Caribbean wealth, Yamato, because actually for a limited time, you can visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, using promo code summoning at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code summoning. Obviously, you can spell that. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year. So order now before it ends and support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Offer may vary by country. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, there you go.
Nice.
Maybe I'll get my aura frame and set it up with all memories of Dom. You know, there's us when we first met. We did the Crackdown. Then we do Best Damn League show. Then over the years, he drifted away. He got other men in his life, you know, he had better friends. All of a sudden, I was replaced by fucking Jamada. Okay, well, whatever, you know, opinions are different. Anyway, and the next thing I know, he's just fucked off coaching Cloud9. I'm like, well, you know what? I had good times, but good riddance. Get the fuck out. Anyway, right, let's go on, because here's the other thing, Yamato. Now we can talk about some other moves. But the question is, are there any that are actually real? Because at this point, most of them are like super debated ones where it's like all the LPL and LCK ones sound like they're all over the place, mate. No one even knows on these ones.
I guess should we talk about the big one? You want to talk about the big one?
The T1 one?
We gotta.
Mate, this drama, I'll tell you what, this is an angle we need now. Fuck League Awards in the sense of like Player of the Year. No, mate. I need things like drama of the year because this Gumayusi saga, bro, it never ends. Mate, it doesn't even end when they win Worlds. It doesn't even end, Yamato, when they win Worlds and he's the finals MVP. Even still, he's their T1 and we have to do the drama all over again. Holy fuck. And then if the drama wasn't delicious enough, the rumor is he goes to Animal Life as well. Like, gee. Bro, this is so. I thought this offseason was going to be a bit dry. This is so delicious and succulent. I want to just tear into it like a fucking rotisserie chicken. So come on, where are you at on this one? Where are we starting? So the rumor, rumor. Gumayusi has officially left T1. That is already done. And then now, supposedly, he's going to join Animal Life as the premise.
You know, putting all the pieces together, it's like we had these conversations back when Joe Marsh was making statements where we said, like, the only thing that can make everybody forget the turmoil is if they just win the world championship.
I know.
That's what we said.
Like, by the way, Yamato, I still haven't really recovered from the fact they actually did it with Doran. They actually did win Worlds, bro. I think we all memed about that. They actually won it, for fuck's sake. What? All right, you win at this point. Your hands give up. You win. It's so bad in it.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant because it's like, the entire year I thought was just the ultimate like redemption arc story. It's like I know a lot of fans want to say that he was always good. It was a mistake to bench him and all that jazz, but it's like everything just played out perfect. It's like, yeah, the Gumayusi hardships, individually underperforming, Smash coming in, and then Joe Marsh stepping in, going over the heads of the coaches to put Gumayusi back in. It was still messy, but then somehow in spring playoffs, Doran suddenly just was popping off, and they went to MSI, and Gumayusi looked better and better, and we could see like the old version of course, Keria and Gumayusi. And then in the end, like they qualified to the World Championship in probably the best way possible we've seen in the last 3 years. And at Worlds, of course, Gumayusi, I think you couldn't have asked more from Gumayusi at this World Championship. It was the perfect redemption story. But internally, I think often, first and foremost, it's like the fact that this team stayed together the majority of for such a long time is a miracle in itself. We don't see that anywhere. We don't see that anywhere. It's insanely rare that is the case. Sure, you have some examples. I know, like in CS, you have like some dynasties that kept together long. But even in those cases, like you maybe moved one piece or someone, you brought somebody in, like Morgisk or whatever. Like you had some people coming in, and the fact that was the case already is like the team wanting to make changes after a long period of time makes sense. I think from that to zoom out, I think it's okay, and that's something like a natural progression. I do think, what has come out is that there were statements that were made and information that came out was that Gumayusi requested that there would be a clause in his contract that would put him in a position where he couldn't be benched. And that was like the end point. That was like what broke the conversation. And I think that's a very, very big thing to demand. But I also understand it from Gumayusi's side, right? It's like he doesn't want to go through the same thing as he did in the year of not knowing. Maybe that situation was already like super difficult for him. And I understand that. And you have the option to go to a team that is maybe going to pay you so much more money, because there was rumored that he took salary cuts to be on, of course, the T1 roster, and he took shorter duration contracts. So it's a question of, similar to the conversation we had about Zeus as to why he would maybe want to go to High Life. The same things apply to Gumayusi. There are pressures that are on T1 that are very, very unique. And if you are already in bad standing with the team, that there's a chance that you're going to be benched. I do think that this is like a rational move. But I have this theory. That I think even if Gumayusi was on the team, I think they still would have signed Pays. And I think what happened, this is my theory based on the pieces that we have. I think that Gumayusi was informed that they're signing Pays as their sixth man. And with that competition in mind, and knowing that Smash was already, prepared to go into D+, I think that they were planning to run either a six-man roster, and then if Gumayusi doesn't sign again and they continue with the same thing, I think they just decided we're going to commit with Pays all the way. And the Pays signing is really good in itself, because a very young player had an immense first years on Gen.G. There was massive. The only knock on him was that on the finish line in very competitive series, that's where he dropped the ball, like the finals against HLE in summer, or let's say the World Championship the last year. understandable. But then now in the LPL, it's like people might look at only the results of JDG and think, oh, he did whatever. But no, he was insane. He was improved and he was playing so good the entire year, in my opinion. And I do think that this is like in terms of where he is and who he is as a player. I do think that T1 as an org, in terms of the core of the other players, they can give him the last thing that he's missing, similar to what they've done to Doran. So my theory, my tinfoil hat theory, what do you think about it? That I think that they were planning to sign Pays even if Gumayusi stayed. They would run a 6-man if Gumayusi stayed.
I do think that it's not impossible. Like, first of all, remember, if Smash had stayed as well, they could have just done the same things they did this year. Because the reason why I think this is a fair discussion to have is every discussion about Gumayusi is ruined because it comes after Worlds, and if they win the Worlds is his best tournament. But actually, that in itself is a problem for me, Yamato. This is why I've always thought Gumayusi was an overrated player. Because, bro, League of Legends is, no matter what T1 fans tell you, League of Legends isn't just Worlds. Like, by the way, LCK itself is very important if you are Korean. Like, remember, Koreans don't fuck with here's what people don't get. Right, back in the day in the EULCS, one of the things that seemed swaggy was that famously in Fnatic, Soaz and Expecke, even when they were in fucking Origin, used to just like phone in part of the regular split because it's real. They were just fucking partying, chilling. They know that as long as they get it together on, like week 7 or 6, they can still get to the playoffs and they don't care what seed they are. They're going to clutch it out and win. And when they would win at the end of the split, you'd go, that's kind of cool because as Westerners, that's our culture. Our culture is work sucks. You do it for money. So if you can fuck around and like min-max, like do the minimum amount, but still get the best result, you're the coolest guy, right? That's hilarious. That ain't Koreans at all, bro. Koreans want people like Chovy, not Gumayusi. They want you to be good every day. They want you to be the best ever. They even want you to be the best for real in the match against Brion, even though you'll win that anyway. Like, they don't want you to play a game where you barely beat fucking DRX and then you go, sorry guys, my head wasn't in the game to that. They don't accept that. So what people I don't think realize about the Gumayusi angle is this. He absolutely did have problems this year. In fact, I think almost every year of his career, he's had a period that just looked a little bit sus. In the early days, he used to just play too aggressively. This is really, really early on, before they got to like the fucking Zeus roster. Then after, that was when they had Teddy, if you remember. Teddy was the safe option. It was the classic T1, like opposite style player that you bring in. And then if you look in these last few years, the thing they've run into every single year for at least one LCK split is champion pool problems for Gumayusi. That has just happened over and over again. And I'm sorry, again, don't miss me with the whole Expecke Soaz thing. I don't want to hear any fan like, yeah, but it doesn't matter then because at Worlds he has the champion pool. Bro, they almost didn't get to Worlds in some of these years because of these sorts of issues. And so if you go into the LCK, in the LCK, Viper and Ruler are better ADCs. I don't think that's even a diss. In fact, one of the reasons I'd even say that's a compliment to T1 that they're able to be better than these teams is I think part of it's having Kerry. I think Kerry is the most OP fucking support you could probably ever play with. He looks unbelievably sick and overpowered in what he does to the draft and the meta and everything. So I always thought, sadly, people made it like Gumayusi was the best player because it's true. At Worlds, he's probably been consistently the best player over this like 3 or 4 years. Like he was really good. For some weird reason in a Worlds format, he does get his shit together and actually his champion pool suddenly expands and then he's able to pull off all these clutch games. But the issue is you can't bank on that every split. And as I've always said, I know it'll sound weird because it sounds like the opposite of any other person's GMing. Normally, to even think about winning Worlds, you'd already have to be like a domestic champion and then be winning stuff like MSI. T1's in this bizarro world where they only win Worlds and then nothing else. But you know what's weird, Yamato? I know this will sound mad to a fan. I actually don't think if you are a Korean and you have people like Faker and top talents, that's enough to just say we just won Worlds. I think you have to try and win some LCKs too, and you have to be relevant in the MSI. So unfortunately, if you are T1 and you really believe you can make a move that's better, I think you have to do it. And so I'll go back to the original point. Technically, you could argue it both ways, Yamato. Either they could have kept Smash and then they could have done the 6-man lineup anyway. He could ask the same thing, but I don't want that. I want a starting clause in my contract. Or, as you say, maybe they already wanted to get Pays anyway, but they were like, hey, Gumayusi, listen, we're not going to kick you out. You just won Worlds. You can stay and we'll do the same thing. People will play for the spot. Whoever gets the spot will get it. And by the way, even if you get the spot, if one of you has problems, the other one could come in. And who knows, maybe at Worlds, you're the starter again and you get to win your 4th Worlds in a row. But here's the problem. One, I think if that's true, based on what I just said, I think that's totally justified from T1. Sometimes this guy has been one of my problems, being as, by the way, if Faker's a problem, we can't kick him out the fucking team. Like, that just goes out saying. But then also, more importantly, as you pointed out, I think that's totally fair for Gumayusi as well. I would say the same thing for Gumayusi. I would say to them, yeah, but I have won you just 3 worlds. Like, don't I get to be a fucking starter in the team? Because if not, much like Azir's, you know, there's teams that want me too. I am a world champion. Like, guess what? Hand My Life might want me to play for them. Maybe I'll go play there. And remember, we know the drama with Zeus and the signing of the contracts. Hand My Life, the story goes, just has the most money, bro. They're the one that you go to get fucking paid. Like, that's where you go when you're a world champion. You probably get like a mega fucking salary. So I think actually, even though this is controversial, because I'll tell you another thing I can't handle. Bro, I can tell none of these fans watched LPL with JDG this year. They didn't watch it at all, mate. They didn't watch one game because they're all talking again, like Pays is the guy who was in like 2024 or something. Like, this guy looked really good in LPL. Like, you have to realize his squad, piece by piece, was like taken apart as the year went on. And if anything, he played better. Like, at the end, he was doing all the things I used to criticize he didn't do in Gen.G. He was the carry, like an Uzi Eye Viper that you just put all the resources into. And if you did it, by the way, he could actually win games against most teams. He was really fucking good. So I have to say, if I am T1 and I'm like, look, is there a possible upgrade out there? This might be it. Like, I think it's, even though a fan's going to hate it because they're going to be like, Pays never won worlds. I actually think it's plausible Pays can be better than Gumayusi at his peak. I think that's not an outrageous thing. And also, tell you what, mate, I'm really excited to see Pays with Carrier. That's fucking really spicy.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Like, I'm excited to see Gumayusi without Carrier. Like, it's
true.
That's the most intriguing part when one of these T1 players like moves on is like we get to see them in different environments. Like, will they thrive or will they drown? Like, it just puts everything into a different context, and I think that's a super fun aspect of it. I think that Gumayusi, you know, in terms of what he's done on T1, like, he has a fantastic legacy. And just from a financial side, like, if you go into next year and you are doing, like, maybe you're getting benched or not, and Pays is playing or whatever, and that's your year on T1, maybe there's a world where, like, you don't end as the world's MVP and a world's winner, and you go into an off season. It's like now, it's like people are even in the spot. I was surprised that this was even a conversation because on Twitter, people wanted to make it out to be that How Alive in a world where they would get a Canyon, but now it seems like Canyon is joining Gen.G again, that suddenly How Alive have pieced together like this mega super roster. But in my mind, it's like back in 24, when the initial roster was like announced, on paper, I thought that was a better put together roster than what this one could potentially be. It's like the community sentiment and the value of Gumayusi right now is at the point where it's above Viper somehow. And regardless of what you want to say about anything, the truth is, it's like Viper is the type of player that gives you like a 99% game, like consistently over and over again. Like that to me on paper is a downgrade if you look at all the volume. But still, the community sentiment was from analysts and other people too, that suddenly this version of How Alive with Gumayusi would be like the mega one, which speaks only to the timing of this. Because I think Gumayusi, if he signs on to HLE, like, this is probably the biggest contract he can ever get in his career ever. Like how much better of a resume, like, you're fresh out of the MVP World's Finals oven. Like, that is fresh pastry right there. You know, it doesn't get any fresher than that. So I bet this man is getting paid, and I think if he went and bounced around in T1 another year, like, I don't think he could get this big of a payout.
No, I'm with you. I actually think that's the other reason why I know people are going to get their feelings hurt on this episode in the comments. But guess what? It must just be a day ending and a fucking Y on the LFN channel there. Because you already are all T1 fans anyway in the comment section. We've all seen it. So we've just simultaneously said Pays might be an upgrade for Guma and Guma is a downgrade on Viper. And I'm sorry, I stand by both those opinions. By the way, I think the Viper one's even more fire. Mate, I think Viper, the joke is, I would say he's like the best player on the team that doesn't win. But they still fucking win. That's how good he is. Like, this guy, he's one of the best players I've ever seen on teams that sometimes are scuffed. Like, I know what you mean, Yamato. He just gives you like a 9 out of 10 performance. It feels like every time, like, win or lose, and then it's up to the others whether you get the Nexus explodes, yours or theirs. Like, he just does his fucking job. So no, the Hanwha Life one is very interesting because obviously the drama with Hanwha Life was since Peanut retired, the rumor was they were going to get Canyon. Supposedly now it's confirmed Canyon's going to stay with Gen.G, people say. So I have to say already the obvious question is what happens at the jungle? Because here's the difference. I agree. I actually think it's a mild downgrade for Viper to bring Guma in. But at the same time, like Delight's a very good support. Like that could end up working out well. The obvious question is jungle though, because if you get the right jungler in, bro, everything's possible. Like, remember, you still are, but this is another example, Yamato, of how everyone is so crazy with recency bias. Like, you would think after Worlds that Zeus just sucks now, bro. You would think he wasn't even good at League of Legends. Like, people have just deleted that whole first, like, 2/3 of the year or something, and then forgotten that at the end they only lost to fucking Gen.G when Gen.G was the #1 favorite. Like, I don't even think that was that bad a year. Sure, maybe you would have liked them to win another LCK title or something. Yeah, okay. Probably go to MSI would be the other angle, but aside from that, like, still a very good set of players. So if you get the right jungler in, I don't know who it'll be yet, but you could still make an amazing Hard Life roster.
The tricky thing is, like, I think if you can't get Kanavi, like that is a big question mark. I think if you cannot get Kanavi,
I don't know if you saw this. Did you see the rumor on Twitter about Kanavi? I think I linked it quickly in the chat here. Let me just double check. Did I? No, unfortunately, it's not there, right? Basically, the rumor I saw said something like that actually Kanavi needs to go back to career at some point in time if he wants to avoid doing his military service. I think they said something like that the Asia Games exemption or whatever runs out if he doesn't essentially, I think the framing, it was just from a fan, by the way, so it'll be like some forum drama. They implied something like that, you can defer doing the military service. I think you can't do it if you're in other countries or something. So I think he had to come back to career for it. If it's true, that would be a perfect time for him to return, mate, and actually play in the LCK, because that would be a spicy ass move right there, right? Imagine upgrading from Peanut to Kanavi, mate.
That would make me very excited for the roster, because like Peanut departing, it's like, regardless of people want to say about his performance, but that is like one elite jungler less in the pool. Yeah. And that's why I thought KT would be such a big player, but everyone's telling me that their parent company is going through turmoil. I don't know what's going on there, but like the fact that KT was in a position where they had BDD and Cuz signed, and they cannot fight with such a big leverage where everyone wants to play with BDD, and there's rumors about how LPL want to buy out BDD out of KT. It's like, come help us win, which makes perfect sense. Like, BDD is a super stud. This is the guy that you want to sign. And it's like the only thing we've heard from KT so far is the fact that Doc Dam is not on the team and Peter is also leaving. There could be a world where Peter joins How Life because Peter's stocks have gone up super hard, and maybe he replaces. It's like they also said like there's this relationship between Gumayusi and Peter, but the jungle role is the big question, because if you don't get Kanavi, the next names in line are not exciting. It's like Gideon. Like Gideon has been floated as a jungler. Like that's not getting me hyped. You want to get someone like Humbug and take a flip, take a risk. Like the next names in line are very, very, tough to accept. I don't think HLE will have that super team status like they did at the beginning of the year. So I wonder what's going to happen. But that bleeds into Viper, like the big question of Viper, because if Viper is not signing these teams and he's not considering KT, it seems like the rumors of Viper connecting with Knight seem more and more likely. And if this offseason ends where Billy signs Shun and retain Knight, and then they add Viper together with On, then,
you have to understand, this is one of those stories or narratives that's playing into like my fucking weakness, bro, for a sick anime storyline. Because do you know what? I need it to be like this, Yamato. It can't even just be that this is like a real, a GM sat with a big whiteboard going, here's our possible moves, gentlemen. We can move this person in here and we'll see about his contract. I don't want it to be that. I want it to be like this, Yamato. Come and dream with me for a moment, right? Knight, he's out of Worlds early. BLG just bombs super early, don't they? So I like to imagine he's at the bar one night after the Hanwha Life Gen.G series happens. He's sat there at the bar, drinking his Sin Sour or whatever the fuck that call that beer they're all drinking. He looks down the bar, he sees Viper down there. And he just goes, send a beer down to the gentleman down at the bar from me or whatever. And he looks over like, oh. Then he comes, basically, as he comes down, you imagine, look, in this point, Viper's lived in China, but I imagine they have to do it in English. You know, they speak in broken English to each other. And basically all they do for the next 20 minutes is bitch about the player that plays the other position. So Viper's just like, fucking Zeke, you know, he barely has any champion pool. What was he doing in that fucking series against Shovey? And then Knight's just going, yeah, well, I mean, I can't relate personally. I'm kind of cracked out of mid lane. And then Knight's going, and that elk. Everyone told me he's like the best fucking ADC in the world. Well, it isn't, you know, January 2024 anymore. Where the fuck are you now? And Viper's like, yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, personally, I just carried the shit out of World Team when I got eliminated, but you know, that's how it is, isn't it? And then they just go, wait a minute, are you free next season? Well, but are you though? And then they're like, I'll call someone. And then Night calls like whatever fucking, I have to imagine in this, I'm making it an anime, whatever shady Chinese backer with all the gazillion yen or whatever it is that always, a Rimby or whatever, that always gets Night to every fucking team in the LPL. Because bro, if you are a fan of Night or Viper, this is a dream move right now. Like, I don't even need to hear the rest of the roster, Yamato. You just tell me those two are on, I'm in. Like, God damn it, I'm in. Like, this is the ultimate posse. Surely they win Worlds together, he said. After I'm in for it though, bro, because I think those two players were both cracked on their teams, no matter what went wrong this year, mate.
I think it's like the fact that the rumor all stemmed from like the main thread was always Viper wants to play with Knight. Like that to me is based. Like that rumor was always the one that was always like reoccurring. It's like I think that's the way you want to do it. It's like you want to make a splash. Viper seems to be speaking every language in the world fluently. Like speaks English, speaks Mandarin, speaks Korean. Obviously, like he's just putting that to work, you know. And I think if they manage to piece together this roster, I think this is the type of roster that you can dream with again. It's like the Shun Bin connection as well. It's like you know this roster would be absolutely insane.
You know what, Yamato, you have to understand, this is one of the rare times I've been fairly restrained and haven't made any jokes at Bin's expense because, bro.
Wait, what? I don't know what you're referring to.
You don't know the thing where he's gone and got that like eyelid surgery or whatever, like a fucking K-pop star. So you haven't seen this?
I've seen that, bro, let him do what he wants, bro.
Come on, homie. What's going on here?
Bro, if it's gonna make him feel good about himself, he's gonna smurf. Like it is what it is, man. We will take it.
I don't know about that. Because my problem is that to me, that's not the style of person I imagine Bin as. He's supposed to be like he is in the game, like a brute force, fucking like bruiser, carry top laner. Like, come on, you. He's supposed to be like that guy in Lord of the Rings who goes like, meat's back on the menu, lads. That's supposed to be Bin. Now he's coming out like fucking Legolas, like George's Bizarre. Like, I don't know, man.
Bro, what are we doing here, bro?
Listen, man.
Leave the guy alone, bro.
I told you, I was holding it in.
That's some fucked up sort of shit, bro.
It's who I am. It's who I am.
Oh, shit,
I was born to be that kid who, when the Emperor walks around, all his clothes goes, why is he naked? And they go, shh. Stop the Emperor, he'll kill us all. Like, but he's naked. No, look, he hasn't even got any clothes on. Like, that's just who I am as a kid, mate. You have to. That's who I am. So anyway, the point is, Bin, you walk in the room when I'm there, mate. I'm not just going to go. I'm going to do that double take, like, Nani? Like, you know, the fucking wolf with the mouth, the eyes, the tongue roll out.
I leave it, fam. Leave it. Fam, leave it.
Anyway.
Tabe apparently is not reuniting with AL for the next year, which was surprising.
Wait, there's another thing. What if they actually, that's another thing. In the LPL, one thing I've noticed that's quite interesting is, bro, in LCK, coaches stay in the same spot for a long time. In the LPL, the coaches are like the star players. They just fucking move between teams every year or two. Because actually, that's another interesting angle to me. It's like, obviously, everyone knows, listen, Tabe has his flaws, but he's also got a fucking mad flaw FLOO to his game. Like, he fucking just raises every team he joins. So the rumor at the moment is, suppose he's going to join, I think people say JDG, right?
Yeah. Like the fact that he's joining JDG makes me think, it's like, is JDG gonna contest the whole Knight Viper thing? Like, is that a potential thing? It's like there were rumors already that Knight is already re-signing with Billy, but it's like it's so hard to know through translations who to trust or not. So we're like, we're doing it. It's all fugazi. Like we're talking about, like it's all. Who knows what's gonna happen? Because otherwise is It's because if he's joining JDG and the roster isn't super exciting, and he manages to do like a fantastic job again with like players that aren't super exciting, it's like kind of feels like the storyline of Tabe is kind of inconclusive. Then it feels like we didn't have like a proper ending, especially because AL are retaining the same roster, and if he's not a part of AL or the Billy line, he's not going to be on the team that is like the best in the region. Like and that to me kind of sucks, because I would wish to see the storyline be where Tabe progresses past his points, because like Billy went to the finals after he left, but his mark was obviously left, and the players like Elk and On and Shun and these guys were playing some of the best league in that year, and obviously everything bleeds into one another, because before the year with Tabe, they didn't have that impact on the league. But it just seems like Tabe is the type of player that type of person who probably likes money, which is fair. I don't know why people take that, like use that as a form of criticism. I think, like, bro, if you want money, you do your thing. Like, I think fair play. And then at the same time, it just seems like he gets bored. Like, I don't know if he's underappreciated on the teams that he's on, and he's not offered like a solid, pile of cash as an extension, or if he just gets bored of projects after a year, because that seems to be always the trend. It's like 1 year, peace out, 1 year, peace out. So I wonder what JDG is going to piece together with Tabe, because if they don't get the Night Viper action, he's not going to be on the biggest rosters,
I have a theory for you on Tabe, which is, I'll tell you a principle. I actually took this principle from analysing CS matches back in the day, which is anytime you would have a mega player. So if you watch CS right now, by the way, I actually think the best player now isn't even Dog. I actually think it's Modesty from Falcons. He's like, he does the Viper thing, bro. Even if you lose, he plays just lights out every time. He's mega. But the problem you have is this, Yamato. There's a principle I have that goes like this. When you're the best player in the world, sometimes you play in a semi-final that should be really close. And if you weren't the best player in the world, you'd actually lose the semi, but play really well, but you'd lose. And everyone would go, well, it's not your fault. You played great and you lost. But sometimes when you're just the best, because you're like that little bit extra than anyone else can even be, you win the semi you weren't supposed to, but now you lose the final. And now when you lose the final, because now you're in the final, everyone goes, wait, you're in the final, can win. Then you get blamed because you lost the final. And you're like, but wait a minute, but I'm the only reason we're in the final. I think that's what Tabe has had in his career. Even though I will acknowledge he's definitely had a few drafting fuck-ups at Worlds, etc. But even so, I think if you look at the teams he joins, the BLG one was good. Mate, the Anyone's Legend one is a miracle. You look at that fucking roster when he joins, there's no world they should ever even be in a final. Never mind like fucking like going to MSI and fucking mixing them. They were in the final of EWC. They were like a legit team here. They almost beat fucking T1 at Worlds. So I think his problem, Yamato, is when he joins these projects that don't even have the biggest expectations, raises the floor. He always raises it to the point that everyone's ready to go, bro, you might just be the best. Maybe your team's going to win. And then if you don't win, that's where you get fired. Because then the expectation now is you have to win. So I know it sounds weird, but I actually agree with you. I actually low-key don't even think he's one choosing it. I feel like teams are just like, in a weird way, they get too hyped, and then because he doesn't win everything, they just think, try someone else, which I think is bizarre, because I think if you look at his career, holy fuck, does this guy have the Midas touch everywhere he goes. Every team he touches just gets way better. It's unbelievable. And also, I tell you another bomber for me, if it's true he's leaving Anyone's Legend. Then why the fuck did Tarzan and Kale re-sign, or whatever the fuck that story is? Like, to me, you only redo that. If you're Tarzan and Kale, the key players, you only re-sign if you're keeping the whole group together or you're getting upgrades. You don't re-sign and then have like a different coach and then not as good a player. No, I think this might actually ruin the Anyone's Legend story a bit.
I consider this like Tarzan and Kale, like you had fantastic options in this offseason. Like even in the LCK, you could have argued for them joining Gen.G as a duo. You could have easily argued for them joining How Alive. Like imagine How Alive just plugged and played Tarzan and Kale. That would be insane. I think I wonder in terms of how everything just kind of fell down, because like everyone was speculating on the idea that Tabe fooled them to resign and then he didn't. But it's like I don't think shit works that maliciously. There's no damn way. It's funny how like these narratives are formed. But maybe it could also be one of those things where Tabe is so aware of his own skill set, because maybe he is very, very good at bringing players together, and that's that with less value to bring them up to a certain point, and then like bringing them over the finish line. Maybe that's just not his skill set. Maybe he's aware of that, and maybe the LPL teams are also aware of that, and they find value with him like being there at the ground floor. Because when Tabe departed from Bilibili, obviously they signed Knight, so it's very unfair to make this comparison. But the second year did look better. But yeah, I repeat, it's like going from Yagao, who was really good that year for Bilibili, to Knight. Is like Knight is a cheat code. And I just wish we saw Tabe and Knight together at some point, because I think Tabe deserves like he just deserves to work with Knight. I think they deserve each other in terms of what we've seen in terms of results. So I'm sad. I was sad to see the JGG news, because I wanted to imagine where Bilibili, the roster would be the equivalent of if G2 did it off of a list in terms of what is happening regionally. And like if G2 did the thing where they signed Kana, Inspired, and they signed Busio just to slam like the biggest names next to Caps. That's the equivalent of what's going on with Knight if Viper and them pair up together and Shun comes back. Like that would be the equivalent of that roster. It's like just boom, you gotta win. If you don't win, fuck off. But the potential is there.
But anyway, as I pointed out, I hope when you've got banger moves like that, like people like Tarzan available, Viper, fucking Kanavi, I hope people pick up the phone and make the right calls. Now, speaking of this offseason, making the right calls and using your phone, how about Mint Mobile? They're sponsoring this episode. And did you know Mint Mobile's best deal of the year is happening right now? You can get a 3, 6, or a 12-month unlimited plan for $15 a month. All Mint plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. You can bring your current phone and number over to Mint. They have no contracts and no nonsense. So it's super easy to do. Obviously, in this scenario, think about all the gifts that you buy for people or they buy for you, and it never gets used. You never activate something. You never plug something in. You never wear that piece of clothing. This is also, by the way, some great gift you could buy someone, set someone up who doesn't have like a great mobile carrier already. They maybe someone who's a boomer who hasn't used tech. You just buy them a nice simple little thing. You tell them how it's set up. You got all the calls. It's nice and cheap. There's no hidden costs and fees, etc. Easy gift for someone. And obviously you can enjoy it yourself, can't they? We love it here at LFN. I'm sure you will too. So don't get your family socks this Christmas or Thanksgiving. Why not get them premium wireless for $15 a month? Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/summoning. That's mintmobile.com/summoning. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 35 gigabytes. May slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. By the way, me and Yamato just low key. That's my favourite part of it.
Yeah.
It's just getting to do that. I don't know why. It just feels cool. I know it just does. It's swaggy. I don't know why it is. It just is.
It's like so natural to also like zoom in a little bit to the microphone.
Yeah. By the way, the joke is every time I say some mad opinion, it should come with some doing a disclaimer like remember, Thorin is an entertaining personality on a talk show. These are not real. Like should I go like that? Please seek the LFN legal counsel if you wish to pledge a complaint against him. For, like,
oh no,
do that. I know,
bro. People are gonna start spam messaging places. They're like, they're gonna find like some complaint cabinets about you, bro. Exactly. That shit's gonna be full. You need a full-time employee, bro.
If that's the call you want to make, do it with Mint Mobile. $15 a month, unlimited, anyway, whatever. You've got unlimited text and data. You can do whatever you want with it at that point in time, can't you? No contracts, no fuss, no Thorin. You decide. Anyway, like, what else even is there now? I guess there's got to be some more. What else is there out there? Is there any more LPL stuff? Oh, there's one thing we missed. Holy shit, rewind. Bro, I'll tell you how bad League fans are. Bro, this hurts. There's certain players that, you know what, I'm gonna make a theory I'm gonna build into what I say as I make the analysis. I actually think people never truly grow out of things that manifest when you're a teenager on the playground. Because, bro, at this point in time, it's just bullying with Doran. Yamato, he's won almost everything in League of Legends. But even though he just won Worlds, all the T1 fans were like, they're re-signing him. He fucking sucks. It's like, he did just win Worlds. Like, he fucking fucking bro, this is how high the expectations are now. You can't even just win worlds. You have to win worlds and like go 15-1 or something in games. Now, I will say, I can't lie. I'm with you, T1 fans, because I'm remembering that voice com where it's like they were coaching him, like, if you could just int a little bit less badly, we can still win this game. It's like, what are you talking about? That was almost like what they were having to come to this guy, because he was like, look, he's fucking up the game. But I agree with what you said earlier, bro. I will never let anyone use recency bias to delete the rest of the year. If you go back, especially the spring and then going into MSI, Doran was actually really good at League of Legends. And he wasn't, by the way, just like some I'm a weak side bitch playing Malcolm. He was playing like fucking Renekton and stuff and actually carrying games, like for real. Like there was actually games, I know you're all going to miss me with this apologist for Guma. There was games where Guma didn't do well and fucking Doran carried the game. Like that happened. That was a real thing. Now, I'll give you, I do think at Worlds, it did go sort of bad. And luckily for them, they got through all those 5-game series, mate, and they didn't lose some. Sadly, I will say this, he would have been hella flamed if they'd have actually lost anyone's legend, or if they'd have lost the final to KT. They didn't, though, and they still won. So, look, I don't hate this move, unless you really could have gotten Keen or someone. I feel like it's one of those moves where it's like, yeah, but who else are you getting? Like, again, like, you know what? As much as on this show, we talked about Canna. Yeah, but I don't know, because that's against LEC. For all I know, maybe Cannon would look worse than the LCK. I can't actually technically know for that one. So if you do win with Doran, I don't hate it. And I'll just add this in there. I notice in this off-season, it feels way less like Yamato. Maybe they learned their lesson in T1. It feels a lot less like T1 had 2 execs and Joe Marsh in a room somewhere deciding it all. It seems like they let the players have a lot of say. Like it was implied to me when I was reading that Kerry is the one who picked Pears. He's the one who wanted him. I get the vibe here. Maybe the other players are fine with Doran, mate. I don't think this is like the deal break of them. So, but like I said, it's kind of a meme because even though he just won Worlds, him being announced as like he's back with the team. I feel like everyone flamed the fuck out of that. Like everyone doesn't like that move. What do you think of this move?
I honestly, like, I think, like, looking back at this year, I do think that he exceeded expectations. Plain and simple, exceeded expectations. I think in terms of like his cohesiveness with the team, I think has been way better than it ever was with Zeus. So I do think that Doran is a way easier player to play with, and I think that's a massive plus. I think in a lot of those a lot of those com videos as well, it's very clear. It's like when someone calls, like, we should fight here, he just goes. And he just like blindly trusts, like he could be playing like with a blindfold the way he trusts his teammates and how cohesive they are. So I think Doran was good this year. I think the only person that you could see as an upgrade, I agree with you, would be Keen. And the thing is, like, currently the state of a player like Zeus is like the meta is not in a place where like dominating solo lane play is what is important. It's like Zeus and Bin, they kind of fell out of favor because it's all about just being on time, being aware, being in tune with the swaps that the enemy bot lane is going to do, your bot lane is going to do, and not dying to ganks and not caring too much about your own resources, being very, very effective with the small resources that you do have. That's why we saw, like, this year was a massive resurgence for players like 369, Flandre, and of course, Keen, who is just an all-rounder, and Doran the same way. And I think Doran being able to carry games was also a big plus, and I think that it makes sense that they continue with him. I think there should be like a rule in the scene that if someone calls for the replacement of somebody, they should always be forced to say with who. That should be like a rule.
Yeah,
that should be the golden rule. Because like it's the same with like the whole conversation. Like Fnatic is the usual one. It's like they should bench Oscarinin. With who? With who? You need to be able to say. If you can say, then we can have a conversation. But if you can't say, it becomes very difficult. You can point out to a problem and say that this player is like holding back the ceiling of the team, which is a completely fair take to have. But in terms of removing someone from a position, you gotta have the answer of who. And I think I agree with. There's only Keen that could really do it. I don't think getting Zeus back in would make sense.
No, I don't think so. No. And also, you can't ignore this. There is the whole thing that it would be really awkward if Zeus came back now, wouldn't it? After all the fucking shit they went through, and him even like winning without them, like that'd be fucking weird for everyone, wouldn't it? Like I don't think that's a good scenario. At this point, you made a clean break. You finally passed all that drama. You just move on with your career. By the way, if Zeus comes back, you come back in a year or two when it's not as big a deal. And also, here's the other reason why he can come back in like 2 years, mate, or in a year from now. Because at this point in time, the only one actually left from the original T1, like the academy, is Owner. Remember, Kerry was a DRX player, mate. He was in top 8 of Worlds and in Dusty Game Files before he ever joined T1. Now it's just Faker stays there, Owner's still there, and now we're on to different players. It's a different era of T1 at this point in time. But crucially, and here's the key thing, as we talked about, the reason why if you're T1, it is still plausible with this roster you can win Worlds is because, bro, you kept the 3 most important players, which is the jungle, mid, and support. Like, in my opinion, as you can see by them getting picked apart one by one, even though Zeus was very, very good, those 3 players are what enable the playing style of T1. Like, you can still do some of those things this next year, and you can still be in with a shout to win Worlds, etc. Look, obviously, again, you've got to do all the checklists. Can Faker play well enough? Will he have a champion pool? Can you draft well, etc.? But I think if you look at the people coming in, Doran's fine. Piers, by the way, from what I saw on Gen.G, could be better than Guma. I think he looks like he could be like an MVP candidate in LCK. He looks really cracked. And he's also, here's the underrated thing as well, Yamato. Piers started out with the ultimate like silver spoon in the mouth. He said it was on Gen.G with Chovy. He's getting fucking shot called around the map by like fucking Peanut, etc. That's fucking unbelievable. Then now though, he's had the hard times where it's just like him and Jun against the world. Like if anything,
it's the equivalent of like 2-3 years Dagestan. Forget one call every 6 months.
And you think about the foot, bro. He went from Juo as his fucking support to carrier. If you are Piers, you are not only coming with like your skills at the best have ever been refined. You are super motivated to win everything. Because I saw all those people like, yeah, because it's T1. If you don't win Worlds, you'll fail. Mate, players, when you're as good as Piers or Viper, etc., that you want that challenge. You're not a pussy. You don't go, oh no, if I don't win Worlds, I'm trying to fucking win Worlds. I'm trying to be the best player at my position. Like, I think this is a great move, mate. I'm looking forward to T1 this next year.
Well, I have to say though, like in terms of the pressure, I agree with the notion that that's the pressure and that's what you want to thrive for as any player. Like that's just like every Korean player is going to want to be in that position. But the fans have the Hubble telescope like pointed at that pace. Like they're gonna be like any misstep, any mismove is going to be criticized to all hell.
Yeah,
so.
But here's what I would say to T1 fans, guys. You're also short-sighted. Why are you trying to scrutinize people or look if their champion pools work or if they're actually the best players? Just believe in T1. They win Worlds every year, you idiot. I'm doing that now. I'm pretending I'm the T1 fan. Whatever. By the way, if they really do win again now this year as well with Doran, but if they win another Worlds with Doran, I don't even know what to do at that point in time. Like, what if start Valorant or something? I don't know. Like, fucking hell.
we should make a show. It's like every week we just predict who wins Worlds based on what we know.
Yeah.
We just do that every year. It's like, let's talk about Worlds. Sure. So Worlds is in 10 months. What do we have here? It's like this week 1. This team looked good. I think they can maybe do it. That's all we do. It's not everything else is just noise. Just noise, Thorin.
Also, I'll tell you what, the one we should talk a little bit about, though. The big bomber one is the KT Rolster one, mate. Because I'm sorry, you know what? Here's what's weird. I even said this to people. I was almost scared that if KT had actually somehow won Worlds, they'd just kept the same 5-man roster, because you definitely shouldn't keep that roster. But, bro, after the way Worlds went, you already have, like, I guess we said last week, Cos is fine, mate. He can stay. I thought he played awesome at this Worlds. BDD is obviously unbelievable. Like, that was some Viper-less performance himself. All you need is one more piece and you'll be cooking if you're this team. So it is kind of a bomb if they're really not in a position to sign anyone. And those players, I know this will sound weird, but this is one area where I've learned not to hope for things that can't come. To a Westerner, again, you know what I said, how the difference in the culture when I was describing that expect behavior? Same thing. If you're a Westerner, there's no universe if you're BDD, you stay in this roster if you hear it's going to be like this. But Koreans are just built different, mate. Like, Koreans really have that mindset of, like, I shouldn't criticize others because I'm not playing 100% level that I could play at. So instead, what I should do is I should grind the extra 2% to be the best player ever. And then maybe we win. In fact, if anything, this might sound weird to a fan. I would look at Worlds and go, bro, Worlds almost proved KT never could have won because they played the best they possibly could. And they still didn't win. But to someone like BDD, that actually makes him think, but if I was even better in game 5, then we win the set. It sounds harsh because it could lead to a very harsh life where you are. It's one of the reasons I think the suicide rate is so high there, bro. I think people put so much responsibility on themselves to succeed, not just as like try your best, like actually get the tangible success of you get that promotion, you get this top medal, you get the top grade. I think on the one hand, it pushes people to be excellent, but I also think it destroys people. And so unfortunately, it's one thing I respect about BDD, but it's also a bomber for his career. He does just seem like the guy, mate, where he doesn't seem like a diva. He doesn't seem like he ever goes into the office like, hey, I'm not playing next year. Nah, he seems like the guy who just gets his head down and gets in solo queue. Like, my joke would be, I'll bet this guy 2 days after losing Worlds was just playing solo queue again for next year. Like, it's what I respect, but it is a bummer because after seeing that performance, bro, can I have this guy with a Viper or, you know, some fucking cracked out player? I feel like if you put him in, again, he's another player that you put in a really good roster. Obviously, the one we were all looking at was HLE. Imagine he goes to HLE, mate. You win everything. It would be amazing.
Yeah, no. I was like, at least, if anything, there are rumors that LPL teams are trying to buy him out. And I don't know if the KT situation is that bad that they're like, we need the money from selling BDD. But I feel like that, bro, doing that from KT's side is like effectively like almost sunsetting your org, no? Like it would be a crazy decision to make for any kind of money because he's the player that is going to keep you super relevant. Maybe it's at the point where his contract is also like very expensive and he has a high salary and they are thinking to that point. But if KT is not making a big investment in this year and this split with cuz BDD already signed, I just don't know when they will. So maybe the best thing we can hope for is the fact that BDD will get bought out. And if that JDG rumor is that they are getting Tabe and they are going to sign some other name players, like if Viper and BDD join up in the LPL and they put some other pieces together, that could be also super exciting in itself too. It's like we have... I just wanted to ask, like, for those who don't know, like the whole LPL auction format, the people that are benefiting the most are the teams that already have their pre-established players because they can just extend the same contracts, or imports. They're outside of that whole auction thing, where any player that is currently on a team that played more than 2 best of 3s in summer, if they want to join a different team, either you collude in a way where the current team that you're on sign you, extend you, and then loan you out to the team you want to go to, or you go into this bidding pool and you're kind of like risking that things play out the way you hope it plays out. But the imports, they carry so much weight, and we might just be back in an era where like the big name, like big brand teams like JDG, Jindong, or like Weibo, these teams that they might just spend big ass money to get the imports because it just simplifies your off season so damn much. So if there's a world where they can make a great team for BDD within the LPL, maybe this is something that solves all problems. Because that'd be very sad if KT is going to go budget again. This is not the year to do it.
By the way, you know that whole thing where last year's Worlds, when it was that like hype trailer before the final, it had that now iconic line where Faker was like, and the 5th title is for you, the fans. And now they've won like a 6th title. If you're T1, you have Western people in your org, you should actually just embrace the meme. Because it's already absurd that we now have to speculate about Faker winning a 7th World. Just commit to the bit. Have Faker do a video where he just goes, fans of T1 in English, like, for this upcoming year, I want to make a promise. The 7th World's title is for Dom and his non-believing bitch ass or something. He needs to do some mad meme shit like that, bro. Because who is the 7th one even for at this point in time? What pace or something like that? Does everyone just get a fucking World's Faker? Are you all pro something? You get a World's, you get a World's, you get a World's, you get a... What the fuck's going on? How about this one's just for you, Faker? You have the... You tell you what, you can have this one. Don't be so unselfish. You can take this next one, Faker. The 7th one's for you, mate. You ruined it, okay? You ruined this one.
Bro, you know, I love this fan theory about Faker, that he's actually just like insanely evil, and that's what drives him. He just wants to fuck up everyone's career, and then he just like in the off season, he's just trying to hurt like his foes as harsh as possible. It's like, oh, you couldn't do it with Doran, you couldn't do it with Pace. I'm just gonna, like, all these guys that you said were the issue in your past teams, Chovy, I'm going to do it with them.
It does look like this is the anime villain actually hurting Chovy's feelings by doing that. Because I know what you mean, Yamato. You know when all the fans love to say that line where they go, Because everyone used to say about DRX as well that it was just like Deft and Chovy against the world, wasn't it? Now they're like, but they've all won worlds without you, Chovy. And even though, by the way, that is true, it's really unfair context because those players were real words back then. But it's true though. It's put it this way: if you're Chovy, that's like no, but it's like, but the facts are the facts, Chovy. Like, oh, what the hell? Basically, Fake has realized he doesn't actually need to beat Chovy in the server and look better at the game. He just needs to win on Gamepedia. And on Gamepedia, he is beating Chovy's ass right now, Yamato. Like, his Gamepedia is going to look fucking amazing at the end, isn't it? Meanwhile, Chovy's the Gamepedia, like, where's all the worlds at? Like, you can't beat that, my brain. It's just the way it is. He's winning the Gamepedia war.
And if you want to continue in this like land of anime shit, you know, it's like Gen.G hiring Ryu as their coach. It's like they're just collecting the guys that endured the most amount of pain. It's like they're gonna use that as rocket fuel. They got Ryu, Chovy, Ruler, like they have so much pain now, and now like maybe collectively they can just you know, humble themselves over that pain and push themselves over the finish line. Maybe this is the final piece.
And as I said, bro, I would be so tilted if I'm Chovy because you're looking at like Canyon and he's like, fuck, do I care? I got my worlds, lol. Then Ruler's like, yeah, high five, see you, bitch. When I see your Chovy, like, what the? I need worlds. I need one. Although I will say one thing though, Yamato. You know, one thing I do think you have to actually. People. By the way, I don't ever let it bother me that T1 fans lie and they tell us what we said and we didn't say it. I will always be what I think is fair, and I'll say what I actually think is accurate. One thing I will say is the following, right? I do think a really good knock against Chovy isn't that he chokes all the time because he doesn't, but a really good knock against him is this last roster of Gen.G. Bro, that last roster, if you want to do a Gamepedia war, that is going to look really bad on Gamepedia that you didn't win Worlds, because at the end of League of Legends, for all we know, Doro could even get better. You have Canyon, you have Ruler, you have some extremely good players. Like, you can't. The difference is, I can go to those DRX rosters and go, they weren't actually that good. The Gen.G roster was that good, mate. Like, true, Canyon fucked up the last end of the season, maybe, but still Canyon, bro. You have that play, you're supposed to win. You have Ruler, you're supposed to. He was like the best ADC in the world at one point in time. Keen's unbelievable. Like, that's a problem if you are Chovy. You did have an amazing squad this year, bro. Like, it's hard to have excuses this year.
Yeah. I think this one is so much worse.
Supposedly, apparently, they're just running the roster back, mate.
I feel like that makes sense, honestly. It's like, your roster change is not going to solve your problem. Like, you were the best team the entire year, like borderline the entire year. This one was so much more egregious than the previous ones. I feel like they are not even remotely close. This one was really, really cemented the narrative. It's impossible to argue against, because this was just a blatant choke, like across the board. The other ones, there were reasons why Gen.G shouldn't have won Worlds. So running it back, I kind of like it. They had a new coach to the mix. Like the whole, a lot of the community was like really, really pointing that out, that the coaching staff, it's like still, like, I think fair play to them. Like, they managed to piece together a roster full of superstars, and they were successful for the majority of it. And like, them being bad at drafting was a part of the charm. Like, there were so many games that I was like, yeah, Gen.G have a worse draft tape, but it doesn't matter, because that's been the case for like hundreds of games that they played this year. And then when it finally mattered, then it was like, let's point to the coaches. But Ryu coming in is interesting. I think his results on BFX, they were always like a team that was competitive, and it would be interesting to see him actually like manage like a high-end team, because that's the one thing that is happening in the LCK, is that Hanwha Life is moving on from Dandy after working for a long time, and now Ryu is stepping in to, of course, Gen.G. And we'll see how much of an impact that's going to have in terms of the, let's say, the coach swaps that are occurring.
A question for you. That actually does spur me to a question that will go all the way back to the episode. You know, when I was asking in your case, like, again, if you allegedly joined us, you thought, well, what was the rest of the shortlist? I agree with you, by the way, on that principle. The reason why, if you're going to say X is wrong, you have to have a Y is the solution, is because if there is no solution, then how can the person be blamed? Maybe that team just can't buy a better player. Maybe they don't have the money. Maybe they don't have the option. So similarly, I would point out something similar. You know, when people in the West do all these complaints about all the reasons why the West isn't as good, I'll tell you one area I think the West's been terrible at: converting great players into coaches. Bro, we've barely got any to this day. Like, we've got like the Nuke Ducks and all that. If you look at the great coaches in the West, they're all the like nerd boffing guy who never played the game. It's like the Dylan Falcos and the fucking Grabs. Like, I know Youngbuck played a little bit, but he barely played. You know, like most of these people weren't players. That's not where they made their name. They made their name if you go and look in LCK for the last 3 or 4 years, every top team, the coaching staff, usually 2 of them, Yamato, are like legendary LCK players who were on like KT or fucking Damwon or some, like all the best teams of all that, Samsung, old school fucking KT, etc. All those squads, Rocks Tigers, all those great players that we all loved 10 years ago, currently coaching the LCK and presumably have an impact on their players. And we've talked about the role of people like Mata on support players and certain people on junglers, score on junglers, etc. I feel like that's one area the West's done a terrible job with, bro. Like when our players like the Perkses of the world retire, they just fuck off. That's it. They just go. We don't bring them in the coaching world. Why do you think that is?
It is. I agree fully that it's that's why I'm so happy about the Alfari news that he's getting like a full-time assistant coach position. I think that's like a really, really, really good one. Odoamne is also stepping into the fray, right, and is working, which is good. We have the examples and Mithy and Nuktak as very like effective player into coaches based on like the resume and the results. I really think that. The transfer of knowledge and how you nurture that and who you discard and who you choose to maintain. I think a very important detail that can hold you back, I think, is that a lot of the big name players, they prefer to go into streaming, right? It's like some of the guys, like I think of, for example, Jankos, he always like built his streaming career at the same time. Like that could be a person that could be like, if he had the ambition to become a coach, maybe that's something that he'd want to do. I think having that as an avenue, the streaming side is just a more attractive option in a lot of cases for players. But I think the biggest problem is the transfer of knowledge. I think like between 2020 into 2021, like that off season, the fact that Perks went over to North America, Nemesis stopped playing. Like I think it's so important to retain the good players within your region and then slowly make sure that the transfer of knowledge is like complete. It's like you want a new player to come in to beat and defeat the old guard. It's like if you look at the LCK, they were always so careful about dismissing players that had like legendary careers. Like a player like Showmaker, like I can imagine in the West what would happen. Like if he had like a down year like he's had on D+, like he would just be dismissed. And then it would be like, oh, he just, does he want to join and play on the grind again? Or is he going to like stick around? Like what is going to be the decision? It's like, is he going to want to rise up again? Like I think that part is so important. It's like even we had players like Sven moved over to North America. We had this issue with players went to North America. I think that was a problem for Europe in particular. But it was also like even a player like Rekkles, the fact after 2021, that whole G2 roster that was like so intention that there was no like transfer of like these players that kind of defined your region for so long is a problem. Because I think the intention should be is like you bring a player forward. If that's your franchise player, you want him to be in the organization, you want him to be your co-streamer, you want him to be your coach, and there should be like a future vision for the players that stay in your org for a longer period. And I think that has such a big impact on the region as a whole. But I feel like too often, like even a player like Wunder, the way he exited Fnatic was so strange. It's like, oh, he plays Winter Split, then doesn't play Spring because he disagrees with the Notion, and then they had to sub in Oscarinin. It's like, that's Wunder. That's like one of the greatest top laners that the region has ever had. And then he just kind of bounces around and then subs in. And that's a player that I think was so important to have in the region. And I think that's like the main cutoff point. I think making it a more attractive opportunity and having that vision in mind when you sign a player, I think is important. It's like you talk about Flykos, for example. It's like Whippo now, they already had the vision in mind where they bring in Gakos, he coaches him, and now the conversation is, in terms of the offseason, they're considering keeping him on as an additional coach for the team. Like that, then you had like a clear vision of what you wanted to do, but I think this is just so rare from the team side and also rare from just the player side and being in that mindset, because I think either players, they would just want to play forever or they just want to stream.
No, I'm with you. That's also the thing that I do think is a bomber. Is like the key thing is, as you say, it's the transfer of knowledge. Like Another thing that's a really underrated detail. This is why I'm actually sort of linking back to a lot of those topics we talked about at the beginning of the show. You know, when people do that thing, Yamato, where they think that a coach is supposed to be like Yoda, the smartest guy ever, who then you just ask questions and they answer it. What they forget is this. Sometimes one of the battles in coaching is you might even have a great point or a great piece of advice or insight for the player, but you might not be the person they respect and will listen to. Like I've always thought, I think I've given this example in the past. I always thought one of the shrewdest pieces of coaching moves in sports was when they brought Zidane to be the coach of that Real Madrid squad, because that team was already like a Champions League winning level team. And so the reason why that was a genius move was, I don't think at that point, beginning of his coaching career, that Zidane was like some mastermind to Pep Guardiola tech. No, but I'll tell you what, that's one of the only people who could have walked into a dressing room with like Ronaldo, and Ronaldo might listen to what he has to say, or might go like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, you're right. I did have a fuck up in my game and I could have done something. Because that's someone where his status and who he is carries half the fucking message. So I know what you mean. People are missing here that they might see like Wonder on a stream and think, well, he doesn't really seem like, you know, a sort of very like didactic person who could like explain. Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is something he says might seem like gold to a fucking up and come. Like Nako might listen to Wonder and be like, fuck, yeah, oh yeah, I'm listening, all ears. Meanwhile, if a really smart guy who has great insights, but it's just a coach says it, maybe Nako goes, yeah, does he really know what he's talking about? That's a real phenomenon. I do think that sucks, because we only got a few, bro. We got Mythy, we got Nuked Up, we got a handful of them, but there should have been so many more. Like essentially, if you just do the same thing as LCK, think about our coaching staff would be like, we'd have like, the joke is some of these players would even make sense. Like, you know what? Expected probably should have coached Humanoid on how you play. Froggen probably should coach fucking Larson. You can go down the line. Maybe Forgiven should fucking position coach Upset. You know what I mean? Soaz, by the way, already coached in an 8 position. We just didn't bring him to Europe and put him on a fucking top team. Like, there's another thing. If you're Fnatic, why are you not bringing Soaz in to fucking work with Oscarin or something like that? Like, this is somebody who could actually help him, mate. This is someone who's been through the same things. So, no, I agree. The amount of knowledge we have lost is crazy, because it means what happens is every few years someone like a Callist just starts from square zero with no help. He starts in the same way as Forgiven and Rekkles had to at the beginning of League. But if you're in Korea and you're Viper, you might be getting coached by, like, Score used to play ADC, if people don't know. You know what I mean? You might get coached by some legendary player who played your position and was, like, the best in the world. Like, I can imagine it's not even that you're just teaching the whole game, but any little nugget you give them, bro, even being able to relate to the experiences and tell you the story when I went to Worlds and what happened to me. The joke in circuits, but some of them we could even tell you about playing against Faker or something like that, like, or Peanut and all these people who are in the league a million years. So I agree. I think that's underrated, mate. Like, it's not just the players in Korea. They have also, like, they've done a really good job with their industry of keeping people involved. They're not letting them. I guess I will say one aspect is they don't tend to have people who go and become streamers as much. They tend to stay on the competitive side. That's kind of their grind, you know.
It's like I can also add, just to add an example. It's like I if I'm allegedly joining Los Ratones, I don't expect to join and be like, I'm gonna teach Nemesis how to play the game. No, he understands the mid lane matchups better than I do. For me, the mission with a player like Nemesis, for example, would be to help him enact his idea and help him fulfill his idea through his teammates. And it's like how you navigate that and make sure that everyone has buy-in and everyone understands the vision that Nemesis has takes a big workload off, because transferring your ceiling of knowledge to other players is a very like different skill set than being just great and amazing. So it's like when you work with players that are really, really good and effective in their position, the job becomes very different. It's like if I look at my own personal skill set of where I know good about the game and I have good conviction, that is like jungle support position. That's where I have like really, really strong conviction in terms of how they should play together and how they take over the map together. And that's where I can give like clean striking points. But I think often where coaching is, it's like understanding how to accrue the right knowledge and the right tools to make your players succeed, because they bring different skill sets to the table. And the fact that the game changes so much, it puts you in a position where you have to utilize the skill sets of everybody involved, because there is no coach that is going to be able to tell you that they know every top lane matchup, every jungle matchup, every mid lane matchup, every bot lane matchup, and everything, all those details perfectly. You need to be able to utilize your players as like explorers and like lightning rods for ideas that come through their own gameplay. And you need to push and nurture that, because the game is ever changing. So it's like the role of how you enable people definitely differs from person to person, for sure.
By the way, I actually have a fun thing I did find during the week, so I'll paste it here. Just have a quick read of it. It's a simple concept. You'll understand it quite quickly. But Veigar V2, who people will know, obviously he's worked with like Cloud9 or a few other people. He's worked with a bunch of people as like an analyst behind the scenes. And for me, he is sort of like, look, more on Twitter. He's not like a stream person, like that, but he's kind of like an LS type figure. Whenever they have like points, I often think they actually sometimes do have like deep points about the game or the meta. I thought this point he made here was actually brilliant in this Twitter thread from, I think it was even today in the morning. Let me double check. Yeah, it was this morning. It was like 4 a.m. my time. He did a thread where one of the points he made is something that I do think is missing in League, even on a high level. He points out that so many players don't ever think about stalling deaths out, especially when you've got a scenario like an objective's about to come up. So essentially his point he's making is this, is let's say you were like just in lane or something and you were like skirmishing with or having like a 1v1 fight with someone. Say you had them on 20% health. It might actually make sense if that guy refuses to base, just let him stay on that health. And then when the fight comes up, he's just in a worse scenario if he's like the top laner or fucking the player. And so, or the other one is like, you push the wave so it goes into him and he has to go and collect it all. So the point this guy's making basically is in League, and I think this is a bigger point we can make here as well, Yamato, I do think players are still trapped in the mindset of really early League of like any kill that I can get means I'm winning. A kill means I'm winning. Because I've always said to Monty, my biggest beef in League as someone who's a layman and has never been really good is when I watch the game and I'm not playing, so I'm not in the mindset of like what's happening, which is what players are like. I've said the most glaring error even world-class teams and players make is when they do shit like you're in the skirmish of a setup, but you haven't actually had a full fight yet. And then the support steps forwards and two of you blow your ults to kill him. And it's like, bro, if I was to pause the game, sometimes if it's before like an objective, it isn't worth 2 ults to kill the support. Like, that's not the jungler with the smite. That's not the carry the game. Sometimes that makes in solo queue it feels good to do it because again you feel like you're winning. But sometimes that's actually just bad game theory. So I thought this point he made here about stalling out deaths, and this is like a way of thinking about the game. It's actually a brilliant point. Like it's true. The amount of teams that do these things where essentially they take a small win now that could have been a much bigger win if you'd have actually just like looked at the bigger picture and not sort of almost done the fast food move. What do you think about this?
No, it's like the concept of like staggering deaths. I think he mentioned StarCraft in the tweet. I remember there was like you basically like locked people out of food because there's like a capacity in terms of how much you can spawn, and you locked units out so you couldn't like rebuild the units fast enough, and you stagger the deaths. The most common example is of course Overwatch, where it's like Diva was a champion with this mech unit, and when she lost her mech, she was like this weak unit, and we just stalled her out completely to just stagger her death, because it meant that the next attack would be delayed of the enemy, because usually you would have to like group up together, which is also of course true for League. I think there's occasions where we see it, definitely, where like staggering deaths is something that happens. Usually the reaction from players is that they just run towards the wave and try to steal the next wave. So there's like the window of how much you can do it is definitely limited. I do think that's something that there's been moments where I'm like, you should do it. Why are you not staggering the death? And there's been moments where like, oh yes, you're winning the game because you're doing it. So it's definitely a strategy that I think is super, super good. But I have seen it a couple of times, and I've heard players be like mindful of it too. The idea of staggering deaths is something that has come up. I've also seen moments where I'm like, why are you not doing this? It's like you're just chasing the next thing. And I think on the concept of like keeping ultimates and keeping like your, let's say, resources for moments that matter, I think Inspired is probably like the epitome of this, and something that I wish we saw more from Western players, because there's many moments I'm like, oh, Inspired, why are you not ulting on Lilia? This guy is a free kill. Then he's like, yeah, but he doesn't have ult then in 1 minute, and if he gets his kill, it doesn't change the impact of his economy. He chunks him out, he needs to base still. Like he was so, like Flag was always very, very aware of those details in the game, and they could always zoom out and play the game in larger segments than most Western teams. I think now, like we look at the top end teams like KT and Gen.G and T1. What they did is like the whole 5 minutes from Drake when it was taken, the whole 5 next minutes were just like just setting the stage for the next dragon in terms of how they manage economy, how they distribute the gold, what kind of spikes they're on. And then always what we saw, like from T1, this is like a T1 classic, what they've done like for the last 4 years. Always 2 minutes ahead of the Drake spawns, they find windows where they break into mid and they just throw all of their ultimates. They just throw all of them. And sometimes they get flashes, sometimes they get a kill, sometimes they even win the game. But that window, having everything on cooldown is like perfect because it just lines up with the dragon. And them just bleeding out summoners in that moment just makes such a big difference because suddenly the enemy super doesn't have flash for the next big fight and it can just change the tide of everything. So I know that Inspire talked about this in the interview with Don Jake, where he said that when he played against Korean teams for the first time, what he noticed was that they are really keeping a much larger perspective on the game. And I think if people think about players that think too narrow-minded, I feel like Razork is like the epitome of that, right? It's like he's always looking at the best play he can do in this moment, and if he sees an opportunity, he's going to take it, but he doesn't see like the bigger picture. And while the flair of finding the snap, like the LPL teams, and finding that moment, there's beauty in that, but it also puts you at a great danger of someone that is willing to see the whole battlefield over, that little segment, like a chessboard almost. So there's nuance to that for sure.
Well, speaking of prioritizing the right things and focusing on the real quality, seeing the bigger picture, what about our sponsor, Fabletics? And I can tell you, Andrew, who's one of our producers and one of our staff people here at LFN, has said he had a whole bunch of Fabletics stuff, and he said it was really good. He said, like, first of all, it's all like active and sportswear. He said, like, nowadays, by the way, that's what most gamers and people, when they're chilling, when they're at home, wear. He said, actually, the quality was really good. Like, the actual selection was awesome. And actually, he ended up wearing, like, a bunch of the clothing way more often than he would realize, because the whole premise is when you sign up as a new VIP, you get 80% off everything. Also, they have all these aspects where it's like they have 2 million VIP members, more than 100 retail stores. So it's also something that's not, you're not just like the first person to join in the guinea pig. You know how long it lasts. This is already an up and running service many people enjoy. They've got all sorts of different top brands that you can pick from, loads of different specific items all across the board of what you can think of in active and sportswear and loungewear and leisurewear and all that jazz. They've got every single, if you prefer comfort, if it's all about the fit, if it's about durability, the pricing, again, obviously the whole point of this is you sign up to save money in the long run by doing it. It's one of those ones where you can alter the plan as well, so you're not locked into something in the same way. So Fabletics already has amazing deals, but right now they're running their biggest sale of the year on top of that, and we've got an exclusive offer just for you, the LFN listener. 80% off everything when you sign up as a VIP. Head to fabletics.com/summoning and sign up as a VIP to get 80% off everything. This is only available through our link. So go to fabletics.com/summoning to sign up as a VIP and get 80% of everything. That's fabletics.com/summoning. Thank you to Fabletics and anyone who checks that out. By the way, tell us what stuff you liked, what things you enjoyed from there, what the best aspect was, what the biggest saving you got was. Let us know in the comments. I think in the next year, I'll probably tell Monty, we should probably actually do like little giveaways, give people prizes for giving us feedback and stuff. Because actually, one thing I'll say for this year, as you can see by how many ads are on Summoning Insight, that's one of the best things about the way the company's gone this year. We've had a lot of really good sponsors re-up. We've had a nice variety throughout the year. Loads of these products have been very good. Most of the ones I've tried have been excellent. A few of them are products, like I said, I'll probably use for lifetime, assuming they're around. So, one last thing. Should we do some Q&A?
Let's do it.
Q&A at the end. Right, we'll do a quick break. We'll come back, and then we'll answer your questions. By the way, if you are watching live, you've got time to submit a question. Go to the LFN Discord, subscribe, go in the SI questions. We'll see you after the break. Right, we're back. Now, listen, something has come up, so we're going to make it a bit shorter. So what we'll do is we'll do 2 or 3 questions as long as they're reasonable time. By the way, if you want to ask a question, subscribe to the Last Free Nation Discord, and I will pick out your questions. If you don't want your name read, just say, I don't want my name read. Right. Let me see. Right, I'll ask you just a random one. I don't know. Do you know much about the lore of League of Legends, brother? Because I know fuck about them. Okay, Milkman22 says, if you had to pick a place to live in Runeterra, where would you live? Noxus, Demacia, Freylord, Shurima, Piltover/Zorn, Bilgewater, Shadow Isles, Ionia. Where would you choose to live, Yamato?
I think, instantly I would want to live somewhere where the climate is nice, there's this place called Ishtal, which is basically like a tropical, and everyone that lives there basically learns how to bend like the elements. It's like think about Kiana.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like Kiana can bend the elements, right? It's like she bends like fucking, the wind and ice and so forth. And learning that would be sick. Or I would just be in Ionia. I think it's like in terms of how their way of living is like to a way of peace and way of respect. And there's a deep, appreciation for tradition. It's kind of like like monks in terms of being peaceful within, and then to maintain peace by strengthening your own self. That's I feel like I would align philosophically the most with Ionians. I would hang out with Zinzao, and Irelia and Kama, the homies. The homies. Thorin's thinking that's like, why? Yamato didn't say he wants to be in Shurima? Look at him.
I not only don't know the majority of what any of that stuff's about, I also just don't give a flying fuck. Like, the problem I have is this. It's not an MMO. It's just all it's imaginary stuff that doesn't in any way impact the actual game of League of Legends. So I think the law is worth the shit ever. So anyway, luckily, here is another question. Right, obviously, you're going to answer this allegedly. So Franny Boy says, question for Yamato. After accepting to coach Fnatic, KC, Los Ratones, and that bomb-ass first Roddy team, I must know what masochistic desire is keeping you in the ring after all these years. Valid question, I think. You didn't even add in, you even coach Vitality as well. Bro, you must just have it in for like hard times. You like a challenge.
Bro, I love it. I love the challenge. But it's like, honestly, like the Los Ratones project is like, for me, is very attractive because it's like there's a lot of players here that like got away. It's like I was joining Fnatic and I didn't know what the circumstance with Nemesis was. I thought like Rekkles would be a part of Fnatic too. Like these are players that I wanted to work with and to like just experience like being in the trenches with them, because there's like a couple of players that you have in the region and you just kind of want to see how they work, because usually in those environments, you get to see so many different sides to people and you get to work together and like achieve something new. Because all the dynamics I've worked with are always like unique and different. And like Crown is someone that I've talked to for such a long time too. It's like working with him is like super interesting. Like the idea of working in that group and seeing fulfilling that potential, for me, that's always been at the core. Like all the noise outside, that is just like business. That is like business. But working within the team, that's like my passion and what the main driving force for me. And the fact that some of these fan bases were like really, really big at the time, that was just like in conjunction with the size of the task. And the bigger the task, the more interesting it was for me. So, maybe in the future, I'm going to be on G2 as well. And then we have we have completed the whole ass trinity. But like I just pursue the intrigue of certain player names. Like I'm excited to work with these player names. So the masochist part for me, it's like I just thrive under pressure. Honestly, I love being under pressure.
Yeah. Even though that guy said it in a rude way, I actually can relate much more to what you're saying, Yamato, because I agree. Put it this way, if I ever do a new job that I haven't done before, then I want it to be something where I don't even know if I can totally do it. I'm going to have to force myself to see if I can rise to the occasion. And I can tell you, it's not unique to you. It's actually famous among coaches that most coaches don't just want the best team with all the best players and they just get to win immediately. They want like a team where they'll have to be the one who has the impact to change something or develop someone or mold the team, because then if you win, it's going to be so satisfying to know how hard it was and how the stakes were big, or that no one else could do it. That's actually not the sign of like a loser, like people think. That's the sign of a winner, that you want to fucking be the one who does what can't be done. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Here's a question for you. Tallahassee Riot Supervisor says, do either of you know, I don't, what happened to the Korean player Mickey? Remember the guy who was on XL and fucking Envy or whatever? Do you know whatever happened to him? What was the story? Do you know?
Well, I just remember the last thing that was on XL, right? It's like the stories of how like he suddenly just got benched, and there was like a scenario where he wasn't like locked in his room and shit. Like he just like secluded himself from the team. Like that's the last time I heard from the guy. So it's like I don't know if it was like burnout or like just a crash out in terms of being in a different environment. But that's like my last memory of the guy. I don't know what else to add to that. Let's pull up his Leaguepedia. Let's do that for him.
No idea. Did he even play after that? Did he go to some shit region? Maybe he went to some small region or something. What did he do? Brazil or something? What did he do?
So he, after XL, played at APK Prince for 5 months.
Oh, which was that
it.
was a Korean team, but that was like what was that? Is that like a low level? That was like a challenger team or something, isn't it?
I'm trying to remember. It's like APK Prince renamed. Yeah, they played, I believe, the promotion tournament, and then that was the last thing that he did. Yeah.
Okay.
Well.
By the way, one last question for you. This one's half funny, but I actually think there's something to this one. So just listen.
All right.
So Rafa Dib says, "What if the whole coaches having comms thing is a multi-year plan from Riot to keep Faker on streams after he retires from playing because of wrist issues? I wouldn't be surprised if Riot and Faker are planning for his retirement already. What do you think? It's not bad, right?"
I've made the same joke.
All right. Okay.
But I made the same joke, but I also made the joke that in his player career, this is also nerfing Faker, because I was like, people like backstage, it's like you can play it both sides. Like, oh, Chovy is finally gonna get someone in the back room to say, "Chovy, don't choke, man," and then he's gonna win. You know, that's the vision people are gonna like put out for the World Championship. But like for me, looking at the change, I do think that Riot is in a position where the excitement cycle is so short in terms of people's like excitement for something, that you need to always bust out like something new that keeps people on their feet. Because I imagine from an entertainment side, I understand from competitive side there's a lot of implications, but from an entertainment side, to just hear the coach at minute 20 and you hear a soundbite of him talking for 20 seconds, and like whatever angle you want to spin that, or whatever angle the coach goes in, it's going to be entertaining. He says something dumb, entertaining. He's pissed and flaming his players, entertaining. He says some goated shit that turns the ship around, insanely entertaining. And I think that Riot's in a position where, like currently, like Fearless was interesting for long, but now it's like Fearless, like who cares? Like Fearless, you want to take away Fearless? You're crazy. This is our life now. Fearless is there, and it's like it's the same with the Swiss format of the Worlds. It was exciting for a little bit, but now it's like everyone's seeing through the bullshit, and the draws is like, yo, this is kind of garbage. I think Riot is in the state of mind where they need to keep the product new, always new and fresh, just to throw things at the viewership experience to keep people from coming back. Because it's such an easy way of going viral. It's like, look at this coach snippet. It's kind of similar in Formula One. I don't know if you've seen. It's like when someone's like, the engineer's like, oh, you need to keep track of your tires. And then it's like, the driver's like, what the fuck are you talking to me? I'm fighting on the road. And it's like, those moments are brilliant. I love those moments from entertainment value. So I see the angle from that perspective. But I can also see the angle further down the line. If there's a way to keep Fake involved, this is a great way to keep Fake involved. Yeah.
Think about it. If you imagine again, the anime version would be that then he's coaching like Chovy and Viper and Keen or whatever, and then the joke is he can just actually on the mic do what he would do in the game, like in this next fight, like bait them around this area around the dragon, and then we're gonna take the ult or whatever. Like then you can say it and figure, what in other worlds you did the call again. In a way, you just keep the same narrative going, don't you? So no, I actually like it even as a conspiracy theory. I think it's a fun idea. Anyway. That's enough for this week. It was an epic episode as well. We'll be back in the next week when we'll have more Summoning Insights. See you then.